A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all-old-time radio.
Now, Autolite and its 60,000 dealers and service stations present
Suspense. Tonight, Autolite brings you Academy Award winner Miss Claire Trevor in The Light Switch, a suspense play produced and directed by Anton M. Leader.
Friends, it's the Peanuts, Popcorn, and Baseball season. And the time to replace worn-out narrow gap spark plugs with a set of those revolutionary new wide gap Autolite resistor spark plugs. You'll get smooth idling, more positive firing on leaner gas mixtures, actually saving on gas. Yes, these winning benefits are all made possible by a newly developed 10,000-ohm resistor built right into every Autolite resistor spark plug. This exclusive Autolite resistor makes practical a wider spark gap setting, and that's what does the trick. What's more, Autolite resistor spark plugs with this exclusive Autolite resistor cut down on radio and television interference. So, folks, see your Autolite dealer and have him replace old, worn-out, narrow gap spark plugs with a set of the new Autolite resistor spark plugs. Remember, you're always right with Autolite.
And now, Autolite presents Claire Trevor in a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Every window was locked now. Every jet of gas was on full. There was nothing impulsive left in me. I moved as if guided by a subconscious force. I selected a light fixture near the door, tapped the globe with an ashtray until it broke and the glass fell to my feet. For an instant, the naked little wires that had made up the filament seemed to hypnotize me. At 7:30, when he switches on the lights, those tiny wires will cause the spark that'll blow everything I despise in the world out of my life. Everything I despise, everything I loathe, and yet everything I love. The gas in the little room was beginning to make my eyes smart, and I realized I had to get out of there. I started to open the door when something told me to stop. It was lucky. I pressed my ear against the panel. I could hear voices outside. People were talking in the hall. I'd have to wait. Couldn't get panicky. Just had to wait. That was all. I thought of shutting off the gas, but they'd be gone in a second. Seconds. It seemed like hours before the voices finally died away. I heard a hall door shut behind them. Now I had to be fast. The gas was beginning to make me feel strange. I listened for an instant more, then turned the knob and started out just in time to see two men getting off the elevator. Stepped inside again and shut the door. I have to wait. I don't know how long I'd been waiting. I tried to piece together what had happened. How I'd gotten here. I was getting dizzy. Skit, Webb. It all started with Skit. My head was whirling. Lights were flashing in front of my eyes. Lights like the ones down on East Main Street on the burlesque marquee. Next door to Skip Webb's office. I'd never been down on Main Street before. I remember it was a strange, dirty... It frightened me. I remember running upstairs to Skip's office.
Hello.
Is this the office of Mr. Webb, private detective?
That's what the sign says. Who are you?
I'm Mrs. John Winston. I'm in a hurry, so I'll make it clear exactly what I want.
There's a banker named John Winston. Your husband?
Yes. Now, Mr. Webb, I'm certain there is nothing wrong, you understand? I just want to check, that's all. I want you to watch John for a few days, then we'll just forget the whole thing.
Better start at the beginning.
I don't think that's important.
It is to me. They call it background.
Mr. Webb, I came here to tell you what to do, not to be questioned. Perhaps I should point out that I could certainly have afforded a more, shall we say, prosperous agent.
Yeah. Let's say prosperous.
I've been married a long time, and John has never given me any reason to believe that there was anything or anyone else, you understand?
You mean until lately?
I mean never.
In other words, out of a clear sky, you begin to suspect something.
I'm here to hire a private detective, not to listen to your insinuations. If you don't want to or need the job, there are others.
Sure, I need a job. We both know that. Don't we, Mrs. Winston?
Hello.
Hello, Mrs. Winston. Can you talk? I mean, are you alone?
Why, yes. Who is this?
This is Webb, Skip Webb. Remember last week?
Who?
Skip Webb, the private investigator you hired.
Oh, yes. I'd almost forgotten about that. I'm afraid I was acting quite foolishly that day. I had some sort of a silly argument with John about his working so late, you understand.
What I called about, Mrs. Winston, is that I've been tailing John boy all week. I think maybe you might have something after all.
You don't mean that. You lie.
No, Mrs. Winston. I really mean it.
You lie. Do you hear me? You lie. You're a liar. Oh. Hey.
Hello?
Hello, is this Mr. Webb?
Well, Mrs. Winston. I didn't expect I'd hear from you again.
Mr. Webb, tell me. Where was he? What was her name? Do you know that?
Take it easy. Look, first you come in the office and give me no information, then when I dig something up for you, you throw a tantrum. What's with that?
All right, I'm sorry. I'll try to be more sensible. Now tell me.
Well, it's going to take a little time before I can make a definite report. A little time and a lot more work.
But I hired you
Well,
to do a simple...
want your dough back?
No, I'd like you to find out anything you can.
Okay. Then play it my way just for a short time. As soon as I can, I'll give you some definite information.
All right. But I want you to tell me everything as it goes along, Mr. Webb.
Okay. And why not just call me Skip?
I'd rather leave it at Mr. Webb, if you don't mind.
No, I don't mind.
No, I never want to call you Skip. My head throbbing, splitting. I was on the floor. Gas. 7:30, it would be all over. The gas, I could smell it. Horrible. No, it wasn't gas. It was wisteria. Yes, the odor of wisteria, as it was in the park that day. I was standing on the edge of a walk near a bed of white tulips in the wisteria. I love wisteria.
You been waiting long, Mrs. Winston?
No.
Well, come on, let's go over that bench. Yeah.
What do you have?
Well, John boy seems to have pretty well settled down to one gal.
Another woman? I don't believe you, Mr. Webb. Girls, perhaps, but not another woman.
Okay. Well, you can't tell yet anyway.
You're making the whole thing up.
Then forget it.
It's your type, that guy.
I said forget it. Look, Mrs. Winston, I don't take that from anyone. You think just because you came down Main Street and you were hiring a two-bit snoop?
Just a minute, Mr. Webb.
I'm not through yet. Just because I don't have a plushy suite on the west side, you think that's the biggest case I've ever had? Sure, I've got a cheap office and a rundown joint. Sure, I've had better times. Let me tell you about them.
I'm not interested in your past, and I thoroughly resent your insolence.
Ever hear of Juanita Cole, Mrs. Winston? No? Well, I guess you wouldn't have. Juanita had an insurance deal, filled the room with gas, and hooked up a cigarette lighter to an alarm clock so that at a certain time the lighter would spark and blow the whole joint up. Would have worked, too, except the clock stopped. Yeah, it was a clever stunt. You know who broke the case? I did. Yeah, me, the two-bit snoop you wanted to hire. And I can name other cases just as big.
Mr. Webb, I don't see what all of this has to do with me, but if you're quite through now...
Oh, you don't, huh? Well, I'll tell you. I'm sick of this high and mighty routine you've been giving me. I've got you pegged, Mrs. Winston. I know what's going on inside that head of yours. You told me you were 32. In your case, that means maybe 40.
That's not true.
You know you're slipping. You can't face it.
What do you mean?
Your husband, he's lost interest.
No.
You've been put on a shelf. He's found somebody else. You can't take it.
Shut up! Shut up!
Okay. I guess that covers it. And don't bother firing me. I quit.
What?
Get yourself another boy.
No. No, you can't quit.
I already have.
But I'm depending on you. You can't leave me now. I've got to find out. Please, I need you. I need somebody.
That's no lie.
You've got to help me.
Well, maybe. That depends on you.
On me?
Maybe if we were to climb down off that high horse,
I will. Anything.
Okay. All I know so far is that instead of being at a board meeting like I told you last Wednesday night, remember?
Where was he?
Had dinner at the gourmet private room. After that, I lost him.
What did she look like?
Typical. Blonde, about 25, theatrical looking, pretty well put together.
Oh, stop it.
You asked me.
What else?
She met him for lunch on Friday. I think she may be in a show downtown. That's all I know now, but I'll keep checking.
Yes, keep checking.
But you've got to promise not to get all hot and bothered until we're ready to move.
I promise, Mr. Webb. I'll be as cold as ice.
Mrs. Winston, Skid Webb. This is it.
Oh.
John Boy's girlfriend is a dame named Terry Williams, an ex-choruser from the Latin Club. Ex, as she nailed onto John Boy, that is.
Go ahead.
She's living in a hotel downtown. Now, look, you can do one of two things. Either rush right down there, tip them off, they'll clam up, or play it clever and wait for the kill.
I'll be clever.
Okay. It's a pretty good joint, sort of upper middle, the Bryn Carlton.
Thank you, Skid.
Shouldn't be long now. I'll let you know when at a crucial time. You know what I mean. Then we'll... Hotel Bryn Carlton.
Oh, yes, Bryn Carlton. Do you have a Terry Williams there?
Terry Williams? Yes, apartment 504. I'll ring her.
Never mind. After I hung up, all the strength seemed to drain out of me. I leaned heavily against the nightstand, and the lamp fell to the floor. For one instant after the globe had broken, the light glowed on. That's how life was. There was always a final spark after the brightness was gone. Now I knew what I was going to do about John and me. No long, drawn-out divorce. I was going to kill him. I'd be clever enough even for Skid Webb. But John would die.
For Suspense, Autolite is bringing you Claire Trevor in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Say, Harlow, it's the ninth inning. 50,000 people have. I can't resist it. I'll tell them.
Tell them what, Harlow?
Here goes. Take out those old narrow gap spark plugs. Go to bat with a set of wide gap Autolite resistor spark plugs. They make your engine idle smoother, give better performance on leaner gas mixtures, actually save gas. Why, that newly developed 10,000 ohm Autolite resistor found in no other automotive type spark plug increases electrode life 200% and more.
Hello. The slugger is up.
It's a 4-bagger, Hap. And so are sensational wide-gap Autolite resistor spark plugs. What's more, that exclusive Autolite resistor cuts down on radio and television interference, too. So see your Autolite dealer and get a set of those remarkable, irresistible, sensational new wide-gap Autolite resistor spark plugs today.
Come on now, Harlow. We got to switch from baseball to suspense. And now, Autolite brings back to our Hollywood soundstage Claire Trevor as Mrs. Winston in The Light Switch. A tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
I could hear the steady hiss of gas. The gas filling the room. The trap I'd set for my husband, John, and his girlfriend wasn't working out the way I'd planned. I had to get out of the room. My plan was falling to pieces. My life falling to pieces. And like a person drowning, I was remembering. You.
What were you expecting?
I told you not to come here. John hired a private nurse to be with me all the time.
Is that why I didn't get my money this week?
Of course not. Come inside and be quiet. All right, Mr. Webb. I've been trying to contact you anyway.
To pay me? My expenses have been running up, you know. I figure maybe a couple of hundred.
Oh, forget that. Do you want to make some good money?
You kidding?
Skip, I'm very clever now. Very clever.
Switch?
I'll play it any way you like. You say where and when, and I'll stay quiet. But first, I've got to trust you. And I don't now.
Why? I've given you the straight all along. When the time is right, we'll be able to put John Boy right where he belongs.
Fine, but all I have gotten from you is hearsay. Certainly you gave me the name of Terry Williams, and I checked myself.
You didn't?
I didn't do anything, just found out she lived in 504. But still, she could be any girl. I've got to know.
Well, what do you want?
I want to see them myself.
Huh? Oh, now, look, that's just about impossible. They're very cagey. The only reason I can tag them is because I know my business. That is, unless you want to take the chance of tipping the whole thing off.
No, I just want to see them at the Bren Carlton.
Well, I haven't caught them there myself yet.
All right, Skip. Until then, you are off the payroll.
Well, it may not be as easy as all that. How much if I can? I'm not a mind reader, you know. I can't tell what they're going to do before they do it.
500. And from then on, I won't question you.
Well, I don't know. It may take a week, maybe a month. I don't have much to go on.
Please understand. I have to know myself.
How about last week's dough? Can you get it now?
Yes.
Huh. I'll do my best. You go get what you owe me.
We'll wait here in the hall.
Hello.
Skip, you told me you were going to call this morning. I've been sitting by the phone all day.
Well, I didn't have anything to report this morning, but I do now. I was just going to call you.
Tell me quickly.
You called me yesterday and said that John Boy was going away for a weekend.
Yes.
Well, get the $500 ready. I was able to tap a phone conversation. Pretty tricky job, too.
Go ahead.
He's picking Terry Williams up in a taxi tonight at 7:15. They'll arrive at her apartment around 7:30 for dinner. Got that?
Yes.
Okay. You wait in your car across the street. I'll join you there.
All right.
Now, listen, don't lose your head and mess up the whole deal.
No, I won't.
I may be a little late. I've got to tail them this afternoon, make sure everything runs right. So they may beat me there. If they do, you can watch them go in, but wait for me. Be clever, Mrs. Winston. Clever.
Yes, Skip. Clever. You'll never know how clever. I managed to get away from my nurse. Came here, got the key from one of the pigeonholes when the desk clerk wasn't looking, and let myself in. Apartment 504. Terry Williams' apartment. That's clever, Mr. Webb. Then I locked the windows, turned on the gas, and cracked the light bulb so it would spark when the lights were switched on. And now you'll see how clever I am at 7:30 when they... 7:30. I've got to get out. The door. The door. I've got to get to that door.
Are you kidding, Eva? Of course she's drunk.
I tell you she ain't, Harry.
Oh, look at her eyes. She's loaded.
Lights. Don't turn on the lights.
They're already on, honey.
Where am I? How did I get here?
You got me there, baby. Eva and I just got off the elevator, and there you were, staggering up and down the hall like
I got into the hall. What room is this?
Why, it's our room, honey. You folded right in front of our door. I'm Eva, and this here's...
Harry and Eva, honey. You remember Harry and Eva vaudeville played all the big time, Palace, Chicago, Detroit. You remember?
No, she don't, Harry.
Well, why don't she?
Please, what's the number of this room?
505.
Then 504 is next door.
Yeah, that's real smart. Yeah, 504 is next door. Then comes 503, 502,
Please help me up.
That's where you come from, 504? Terry having a party or something?
No, that isn't where I came
Oh, fine girl, Terry. She was overdue, you know.
Hey, if Terry's having a party, maybe we ought to drop in.
Oh, no.
Why not? We haven't seen much of her since she started running around with her new boyfriend. Come
No,
on!
there's no party there, and I didn't come from there.
Then how do you know there's no party there?
Please help me up. I've got to get out of here right now.
I don't know, honey. You don't look so good to me. Why don't you just lie down a few minutes, and then maybe...
What time is it?
It's time for a drink. That's what time it is. Now, you wait just right here, and I'll get it.
Oh, please, tell me what time it is.
Oh, about 7:30.
No, I mean the exact time.
Say, you're pretty particular, honey. Okay. It's exactly 7:26. That good enough for you?
4 minutes. I've got to leave. You've got to help me out of here right now. Do you understand? Right now. Help me up, I tell you.
Well, okay,
help
honey.
me up.
Okay, don't get so upset. Here.
Oh, thank you.
Well, here you are, girls. Here's your drink.
No, thanks. I don't care.
Come on, sit down and drink it. Do you?
No, please.
I said sit down.
Oh, why'd you want to push her, Harry?
Well, what's with this babe anyway?
I don't know, but she don't look so hot to me. Maybe we ought to send for a doctor.
I don't need a doctor.
Hey, wait a minute. I just figured out what's wrong with you.
What?
You're unhappy. That's what's wrong. Oh. And that's something I can't stand to see. Anybody unhappy. Well, we got just the thing for that, even me. We'll give you a little routine. Yes, sir. It'll snap you right out of it in no time. Come on, Eva. Oh, I'm just wild about Harry.
No.
Come on, Eva. Come on. Oh, I'm just wild about Harry. And Harry's wild about me. Now, watch your stuff. Well, how about that? How about that? We're giving a class and all she can say is stop that. Now, look here,
Oh,
sister.
let her alone, Harry. Can't you see she don't feel... Here, honey. You let me help you.
Thanks. Now, the door.
Maybe what you need is a drink.
Oh, what do you think I offered her a couple of minutes ago? That ain't what she needs. She's loaded already. What she needs is air.
Air. That's right, air. What I need is some air. Let's go out, get some air.
Well, what's wrong with just opening the window?
Oh.
Hey, Eva, look.
Huh?
Terry and that new boyfriend getting out of a cab. Now we can have a party.
I don't want a party. I want to get out right now. Can't you understand? Get me out of here.
Maybe we better get her out of here. I'm kind of worried about her.
Yes, we must get out.
We got to help her downstairs, Harry.
Oh, how come we always get tangled up with freaks like this?
Please help.
Come on, Harry. Come on.
And finally, we were out in the hall, and Harry started to ring for the elevator. Only John would be coming up on the elevator. I insisted we take the stairs. Told them elevators made me dizzy. I knew they thought I was crazy, but I didn't care what they thought. Just as we reached the lobby, I caught sight of John's gray coat disappearing into the elevator, and she was right behind him. Eva and Harry tried to drag me with them to the bar down the street, but I refused, and they went on without me. I waited in the lobby. The indicator over the elevator door stopped at the 5th floor. They were just getting out of the elevator. And now they must be walking down the hall. I could almost see John fitting the key. I walked quietly out of the hotel lobby to my car down the street. I felt better now. As I let myself in the front door, I knew I'd done everything right. I'd been clever. And now there was only one thing to remember. I must act shocked when they call me to tell me John is dead. John!
Hello, dear.
John!
Oh, yes, I came back for my coat. Incidentally, where is it? The gray one. I was positive it was in the hall closet, but I can't find it. Who could have taken it? Did someone borrow it? Darling, what's the matter?
I thought you...
Where have you been, dear? Oh, you shouldn't worry me like this.
You didn't have your coat?
But I just told you. I started on my trip and discovered I'd left it behind, so I came back for it. Oh, please, dear, you mustn't get so upset about trifles. You're not well. And here you go running around when you're not supposed to leave the house. Oh, really, I've tried to be considerate with you, but I...
You have been considerate, John. Very considerate. You've been a perfect husband. The police will be here any minute. When I called, they said they'd be right over. It's strange how it all worked out. He intended to make a lot of money off me, but I never had a chance to give him the 500. He thought he was so clever, but all he made was expenses. And I thought I was being clever, too. I killed 2 people. Terry Williams and her boyfriend, Skip Webb.
Thank you, Claire Trevor, for a splendid performance.
Oh, Miss Trevor.
Yes, Mr. Wilcox.
Remember what you said at rehearsal?
You mean that some women don't know a spark plug from a hill of beans?
That's right. Well, just in case you're one of those women, I went out to my car and got a spark plug.
Oh.
Now, you see how you can tell the difference?
Oh, why, of course. On this spark plug you handed me, it plainly says auto light resistor. And I doubt whether a hill of beans is marked at all.
I doubt it, too. And besides, the Hill of Beans is not made by Autolite, which makes more than 400 products for cars, trucks, airplanes, and boats in 28 Autolite plants from coast to coast. Yes, sir, and Autolite also makes complete electrical systems for many makes of America's finest cars. Batteries, spark plugs, generators, starting motors, coils, distributors. All engineered to fit together perfectly, work together perfectly, because they're a perfect team. So, folks, don't accept electrical parts that are supposed to be as good. Ask for and insist on Autolite, original factory parts, at your neighborhood service station, car dealer, garage, or repair shop. Remember, you're always right with Autolite.
And now here again is Miss Claire Trevor.
It's been a pleasure to appear here tonight with this great cast of suspense actors and actresses. And I'm expecting almost as much pleasure from listening next week when radio's outstanding theater of thrills brings you Jimmy Stewart in Revenge, another gripping study in
Suspense.
Claire Trevor will soon be seen co-starring with Fred McMurray in Borderline Productions' forthcoming picture, Borderline. Tonight's suspense play was written by Richard Vaudreuil, with music composed by Lucien Morawek and conducted by Leith Stevens. The entire production was under the direction of Anton M. Leader. In the coming weeks, Suspense will present such stars as Frederick March, Joan Crawford, Agnes Moorehead, John Lund, and many others. Make it a point to listen each Thursday to Suspense, radio's outstanding theater of thrills. And next Thursday, same time, hear James Stewart in Revenge.
You can buy Autolite resistor spark plugs, Autolite stay-full batteries, Autolite electrical parts at your neighborhood Autolite dealers. Switch to Autolite. Good night.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Ionized Yeast presents Lights Out. Everybody. It is later than you think. Lights Out brings you stories of the supernatural and the supernormal, dramatizing the fantasies and the mysteries of the unknown. We tell you this frankly, so if you wish to avoid the excitement and tension of these imaginative plays, we urge you, calmly but sincerely, to turn off your radio now. Mr. Obler, there's something I've been intending to ask you ever since the beginning of Lights Out series. What is the meaning of the phrase used each week, "It is later than you think"?
Well, Frank, no one knows who first said it, but for centuries, sundials have borne that phrase. It is later than you think. And the words are as true today as they've always been. The meaning? That the human lifespan is short and time is fleeting, and each of us have fewer moments than we think to live, learn, work, and perhaps mend our ways.
Well, that's very interesting, especially in these strenuous days. But tell us, what's the title of tonight's Lights Out play?
As I predicted last week, Come to the Bank. It's not an order, but the story of a woman who, for strange reasons soon apparent, is determined to get us to the bank.
And now?
Lights out. Everybody.
Please, would you come to the bank with me? Please. I've asked so many people, but they won't listen to me. Will you come to the bank with me? No, don't turn your head. Please don't go away. Listen, if I tell you very carefully why I want you to come to the bank with me, you will come, won't you? He's locked up in there. He can't get any air. Oh, no, don't get excited. I didn't say he was locked up in the vault. All they've got in their vault is money. I don't care about money. All I care about is him. I didn't mean to tell you. All right, I did. You've got to come to the bank with me and help me. It's Fred Roth. He's in the bank and he can't get out. What are you laughing about? That's not so funny. I tell you, he's in the bank and he can't get out. He's been in there for, I think it's 3 weeks. Blast you, stop laughing. Please listen to me. I'll tell you all about it from the start. I'm a school teacher. At the Matson High School, I teach physics. It's a rational science, cause and effect, cause and effect. Mr. Roth teaches in the same school, psychology, the way of the human mind. But that's not an exact science, is it? The human mind is not exact at all. And that started it. That's what started it. Mr. Roth said to me.
Well, speaking quite frankly and candidly, Miss Moss, I don't think very much of your exact sciences.
2 and 2 always add up to 4, Mr. Roth.
Not where the human mind is concerned.
I don't understand.
Well, it is my profound conviction that the potentialities of the human mind and body have never been realized by any human creature.
But there have been great men. Plato, Lincoln, so many scientists.
Yes, but only fractional greatness, using perhaps 1/10 of the power latent within themselves. It's all a matter of concentration. Thomas Edison used perhaps 1 iota more concentration than the average man and became one of the great inventors of all times. I tell you, Miss Moss, if men would concentrate their minds to the limit, the universe would be theirs.
That's a very innocent thought, isn't it? Just a teacher talking about the human mind. I thought nothing of it. Mr. Roth was such an intense young man. I liked his intensity.
Just think what could happen if a man could bring his mind to the proper point of concentration. He could move objects with his mind. Yes, why not? Think that a table should move, and it would move.
Mr. Roth.
No. Think that he wanted to be a certain place, and he would be there. Men conceived this civilization just by a thought, and here it is. All is power of thought over matter. A man thinks a book before the book exists. He thinks a house, and only then the house can be. All is power of mind over matter.
I liked to watch his eyes while he talked. They were so bright and burning. And his mouth, as he talked,
The way it twisted. I couldn't help liking Mr. Roth, could I? We had dinner together once.
Will you have coffee with your dinner or later?
What did you say?
The waiter wanted to know if you wanted coffee with your dinner.
Oh, no coffee.
Oh, we miss.
Very nice of you to have dinner with me, Mr. Roth.
Oh, on the contrary, I'm grateful to you. You're a very good listener.
Thank you.
I've done a great deal of work in the week since I last talked to you.
Have you? Please tell me.
Well, it isn't exactly work. It's more of a decision.
Yes?
Yes, I've come to the decision to stop theorizing. Yes, I've decided to put what I believe into practice.
I don't know what you mean.
Well, it's quite simple. The powers of concentration. I've decided to put into practice...
The fruit juice is for the lady?
Well, yes, for the lady. Concentration, Miss Moss. I've decided to put into practice my theory of concentration. I don't want to anticipate, but I expect wonderful results, Miss Moss. I might even say unbelievable results.
Unbelievable results. Oh, must I tell you more? Please, come with me to the bank. All right, I'll tell you the rest. The day after he talked to me in the restaurant, Mr. Roth didn't come to school. I know that because at lunchtime he wasn't in his usual place in the cafeteria. And when I asked, they told me that he suddenly had taken leave of absence and that an extra teacher was taking over his classes. I was very disappointed. A week went by, 2 weeks. I decided to go see him. I took a few days off from my work. I found out his home number. Friday morning, I bought a new dress, very becoming one. Then I went to visit Mr. Roth. I was certain he wouldn't be angry with me. It was perfectly proper that I call on him as a friend.
Yes, Mr. Roth is at home. He has the 2 back rooms. He has not been out of there for a week. Won't even let me go in to clean up. You go right ahead. Head of the staircase and to the right.
Mr. Roth, are you in there? It's Miss Moore. Could I speak to you for a moment? Standing there knocking, I suddenly realized that the door was ajar. Was he... But he didn't answer, and yet the landlord had said he was at home. I pushed the door open farther and glanced through the opening. Mr. Roth! Mr. Roth! Dead! Oh, no,
I'm alive.
Oh, I thought... Oh, Mr. Roth, your face, the way you look, what...
No. Water. Glass.
Oh, yes.
Water.
Yes. Here. Oh, you are sick.
I'm not sick. Water.
Here, drink it. I'll hold it. Doctor. I'll call a doctor.
No, wait.
But you're ill.
Listen to me.
Yes.
I'm not sick.
Well, then what?
I told you.
Well, I don't know.
I've been sitting here for a week.
Sitting? For a week?
Concentration. Practicing concentration. Concentration. The experiment was most successful. Yeah, most successful. I've proven that I can do what some of the Orientals profess to do. Slow down through concerted willpower the essential life processes. A week without food and water. Is that not a triumph, Miss Moss?
But I don't know. Mr. Roth, why do you do these things?
I'll try to explain it to you simply. The human thoughts are like the rays of the sun, spreading in all directions. By the use of a lens, the rays of the sun can be focused on one point. And instead of warmth, there is a focal point of intense light that can burn its way through all obstacles. And so it is with human thoughts. If, through concentration, a man could focus them on one point, he would be a god among men. I tell you, Miss Moss, that I am confident that I, through training, can become that one man in a million. even as muscles can be trained. So I am training my mind. And the day when my training is complete, I will be able to do anything I desire. You hear me? Anything. Anything.
When he said that, thin and weak and tired as he was, his eyes looked at me. I was afraid. For him. I made up my mind right then. The first thing was to get him out of that room. He ate, rested, and then went out with me.
I don't see why I let you talk me into this, Miss Moss. I have so much work to do.
The walk will do you good.
But where are we going?
Well, first I want you to come to the bank with me.
Beg your pardon?
Well, you see, I've been thinking of taking a little vacation, and I need some money. Going to withdraw some.
Oh, I see.
I too want to get off some place where I can concentrate.
Well, yes, most important.
Yes. Have you thought about going out to the country?
These buildings, Miss Moss. Look at them. Steel and concrete. So firm and so solid. So enduring. You know something, Miss Moss?
Walking so fast,
Once upon a time, they were only an idea in man's mind. Perhaps even now they have no solidity, but are just ideas hanging in air, through which a man with single-mindedness of purpose could walk as easily as if he were walking through air. Do you understand me, Miss Moss?
But I'm not sure. The country would be a wonderful place to work. Now, wouldn't it, Mr. Ross?
We went into the bank. He kept talking about the powers of concentration. I hardly listened to him. All I could think about was that somehow I had to get him into a new environment. The foyer of the building where the bank was, we went in. People, elevators. Suddenly, Mr. Ross stopped. He stared at the wall. I said,
Mr. Ross, what are you looking at?
This is the time.
Time for what?
I told you. When my subconscious reached the proper point of incubation, I would know that my powers had reached the point where I could do anything.
Mr. Ross,
anything.
please, let's go.
Well, this is the time. Now, I must make use of that power now.
No, please. What are you going to do?
That marble wall. Straight ahead. I say I can walk through it.
No, please, stop joking.
I will walk through.
No, Mr. Ross, come back. Don't. Ah! Mr. Ross!
What?
The wall! No!
Oh, what?
Mr. Ross! Mr. Ross, he walked through the wall. You hear me? He walked through the wall.
You sit there smug and self-certain, don't you? It couldn't have happened. But listen, you pinhead mind, I tell you it did. I saw it with my own eyes. Mr. Roth walked right toward that marble wall, and he went into it, and then he was gone. Do you hear me? Gone. But I mustn't call you names and make you angry, must I? Because you must come to the bank with me. Yes, I'll tell you more of just what happened on that day.
I never heard of such a...
Now, look, lady, take it easy.
Get out of my way. The wall. He walked through that wall. I tell you, he walked through that wall.
For Pete's sake, please.
He said he'd do it, and he did do it. He walked through that wall. I tell you, he walked through that wall.
Disturbance.
Let go of me. Don't hold me back. I gotta get to him. Mr. Ross. I gotta get to Mr. Ross.
Well, this lady, all at once
Yes, I
she
gotta get to
screamed,
him.
and now she...
Time to let go of me. Mr. Ross, he concentrated his mind. He said he'd walk through that wall, and he did.
What?
Yes, he
That's it,
did.
Mr. Searle.
Don't let go of me. That wall, Mr. Ross went through that wall.
My
I've
dear
got to
woman,
go.
are you out of your
I've got
mind?
to get to him,
Keep
Mr.
quiet.
Ross. I've got
Stop
to get
making
to
that
him.
noise. Stop it.
That wall is solid. Solid concrete faced with marble. You'd better go home and stop disturbing the peace. Show her to the door, Regan.
So they put me out. I stood in the street. I didn't know what to do. And then I knew. I would wait there until Mr. Roth came back. And he would come back. He'd gone through the wall, and he must have come out on the other side. And now he would walk around the building and come back and meet me there. So I waited.
Good night, George. See you in the morning.
I waited a long time.
Are you waiting for something, lady? The bank's closed, you know. I've seen you standing here ever since I got on my beat, so I thought I'd talk to you.
A long time. It began to rain. I stood there in the rain. Mr. Roth. And then a terrible thought. What if he... I went to the door of the bank building. It was locked. Let me in. Please, let me in. Listen to me. Just let me in, Mr. Roth. I've got to get to Mr. Roth.
Hey, lady, what? Don't you know the bank's been closed for
I
hours?
got to get in. I've got to. I've got to get in.
Now, take it easy, you. Hey, aren't you the one that's been standing out here?
Let go of me. Mr. Roth is in there.
Now, lady.
I will get in.
Hey, the door.
Let go of me. Mr. Roth, I've got to get in, Mr.
You're
Roth.
acting like
I will
this.
get in. I'll kick this door. I will get in.
Kicking the door in.
Yes,
Now,
I
you
will.
come along with me.
Let go in there. Did we get in to see Mr. Roth that night? No.
Order in the court. Order in the court. Prisoner will be held for further examination. Next case.
I tried to tell them, Mr. Roth, but no one would listen to me. All night. And the next terrible day, no one would listen.
Now tell me, do you have dreams, Miss Moss?
Asking me questions over and over.
Do you think that people dislike you?
Over and over.
Have you often seen Mr. Roth or other people disappear?
Over and over.
When did you first begin to have
over.
these hallucinations?
But when I tried to tell them about Mr. Roth, they started to say terrible things to me.
The fact of the matter is, Mr. Roth has disappeared. It is the opinion of the police that he decamped with this woman's money. Yes, took her money and ran off. Yes, took her money and ran off.
I didn't care what they said. I had to get to the bank. You know why? Mr. Roth had started for the wall, and I had seen him go through it, and he hadn't come around to meet me. So there was only one answer. He was still in the wall. And while Mr. Roth was in the wall, they were keeping me in this hospital. I had to get out.
How are you resting now, Miss Moss? Miss Moss, where? Window. Nurse, the woman in this room. She's gone. Out of the window. Nurse, Miss Moss is gone.
Got away. In the street. Still raining. I ran along the dark streets until I was at the bank. Closed. There was a dark doorway, another building. I hid in the dark and waited all through the night until morning, until they opened the doors of the bank. I went into the bank. I walked toward the wall. That wall. I wanted to run to it, but I walked. Then I was there. The very wall he'd gone into. Mr. Roth. Mr. Roth, are you in there? It's Miss Moss. Ada Moss. Mr. Roth, please, if you're in there, answer me. They'll see me standing here by the wall talking, and they won't let me stand here. Mr. Roth, please, I've got my ear close to the wall. If you're in there, answer me. I can hear you. You are on the wall. I was right. You did walk into the wall and stay there. Yes, but what are you saying? I can't understand you. Please, Mr. Roth, speak so I can understand you. Yes, I understand. I will get you out of there. Help! Help, there's a man in the wall. Help me get him out. Mr. Roth, you hear? I'll get you help. Hurry, people. Bring axes and picks. There's a man in the wall. Mr. Roth's in the wall. They put me back in the hospital. They didn't believe me. They didn't help Mr. Roth. I was very sick. I don't know how many days I was in the hospital. Then I was all right. They let me out.
And this is your last warning, Miss Moss. You are to stay away from the bank. You are to behave yourself as the good, intelligent citizen you normally are. Your last warning, Miss Moss.
And all the time, Mr. Roth was in that wall, waiting for me to help him. And there was so little time left. A man such as Mr. Roth, powers of concentration. He could and did perform a miracle, walking through a wall. But even conserving his strength and breath and the way he said, slowing down the vital life processes, how long do you think he could live entombed in that wall? I had to get to him. But when I walked by the bank, hiding in the crowd so they wouldn't see me, I saw that there was a policeman there. They put a policeman there just to keep me out. I had to figure out some way to get in there. Tell Mr. Ross to keep alive, that I was working to help him. I had to figure out a way. There's a store across the street. A store selling paint. That was the answer.
Something for cleaning? Of course, madam. How much do you think you'll need? Oh, I suggest a pint. We have it here in bulk. Open it? Sure. See, it's standard cleaning fluid. Lady, no, that match. Look out, don't, it's inflammable. Don't. Help, fire. Grab that woman. She said fire to the store, fire.
Where was that?
In a few moments, everyone was so busy that I was quite free to go into the bank. In a few seconds, my ear was against the wall. Mr. Roth, I'm back. They tried to keep me away from you, but I'm back. Mr. Roth, can you hear me? Alive. Yes, still alive. Oh, Mr. Roth, what should I do? What? Yes, I will. They won't stop me this time. Get something and tear down the wall. Fire axe, off the wall. Mr. Roth, look. If you could see, I got a fire axe. Could they help you? Will you get out? We'll get you out. Yes, I will get you out. The mob is cracking, Mr. Roth. I will get to you. Get to you. No one will stop me now. They don't want to help you, but I'm helping you.
Give me that axe.
Oh, no, you won't stop me. I've got to help Mr. Roth.
Give me that axe.
I'll give it to you.
Oh. Lady,
I told you not to stop me.
You killed the policeman.
No, I'll kill you. I'll kill you all. I've got to get free. Mr. Roth.
Give that to me.
I'll kill you.
Hear me.
Stand back. Don't stop me. I've got to free Mr. Roth. Stand back. I'm locked up now. They locked me up. You've been my first visitor in weeks. Do you know what that means? All these days he's been in that war, holding himself alive with all his will. But sooner or later, if he thinks I'm not going to help him, he'll give up hope. And he'll lose his will to live. And suddenly he'll die. Do you hear me? He'll die. Please make them let me go and come and help me save Mr. Ross. If you don't help me, it will always be on your conscience, won't it? At night when you're alone and you can't sleep, you'll open your eyes and you'll see Mr. Roth entombed in that wall. But it won't be Mr. Roth anymore. Just the bones of a man. Bones and dead, decaying flesh and worms. And the skull will talk to you and ask you, why didn't you help me? So I ask you again, please, won't you come to the bank?
Mr. Obler, a man living in a bank wall.
Well, don't let that prevent you from going to the bank and buying a few war bonds.
No, seriously. Do you really believe a human being could possibly accomplish such a feat and then keep himself alive by sheer willpower?
Well, Frank, certain Hindu cults have been able to obtain unbelievable results in the suspension of the ordinary human bodily functions by fasting and complete immobility. In plain talk, they don't eat, they don't sleep, they sit still, and their pulses drop to the point of what is normally fatal. And yet they live. The human mind, Martin, is a deep, dark power whose potentialities only the future will bring to complete fulfillment.
Well, now what about next week's story?
Title, Chicken Heart. The story, but more about that after just a moment.
And I'll use that moment to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that life doesn't necessarily have to seem hopeless, even if you are miserably thin and weak and nervous. Perhaps you, like thousands of others, Mr. Obler?
Well, somebody told me that next week's play, Chicken Heart, should have been entitled Brainstorm. I won't deny that. I've never enjoyed writing a story more in my life and never hesitated more about broadcasting it because of its terrifying nature. Brainstorm the story is yes, but don't forget that tomorrow's brainstorm may be the truth the day after tomorrow. But truth or fiction, Chicken Heart next week.
Yes, Lights Out will come to you again next Tuesday at the same time. Be sure to listen to Arch Oboler's amazing story of Chicken Heart. And if you need more vitamin B and iron, be sure to try ironized yeast, the one and only ironized yeast, with the big letters IY on the package and on each tablet.
Later than you think.
Here's a question everyone is asking. How long will my present clothes last? Well, folks, that depends on what kind of care you give them. On whether, for example, you keep your clothes free of grease spots that make them look worn, run down, and old before their time. So get some Energine cleaning fluid and use it to remove grease spots from your clothing the moment they appear. Energine gets rid of grease spots easily, quickly, neatly. Helps make your clothes give more satisfactory wear. Get some tomorrow. Energine cleaning fluid. This is the Columbia Broadcasting.
Unsolved Mysteries. Out of deference to persons who may still be living, character names in some of these true unsolved mysteries have been changed. Most mysteries, whether they be an unsolved crime or the disappearance of a person, are a 9 days' wonder and are promptly forgotten. Tonight's mystery is 127 years old, is important enough to be recorded by historians in history books, and deals with the disappearance of Mr. Bathurst, one of the King's messengers, the forerunners of our modern Secret Service. The scene is the little town of Brandenburg, at the Inn of the White Swan. Snow covers the ground, and the twinkling light of candles makes a welcome gleam in the frosted windows. In one of the upper rooms, finishing dinner, Colonel Weinert and a companion. The two rise from the table, look out the frost-covered window as they hear the tramp of horses' hoofs and the jingle of a horse-drawn coach.
Who can be coming to the inn at this time of night and in this weather?
A tall man in a heavy sable coat. He's getting out of the coach.
Two others with him.
He must be English. They wear hats like that in England.
Well, I suppose it is none of our business. There's so little to do here in Brandenburg that one finds interest in such little things. Yeah, come in. Ja, mein host.
Oh, I ask your pardon for disturbing you, mein Herr, but the gentleman who has just arrived desires to speak with you, sir.
Huh? Desires to speak with me? How does he know I'm here?
Oh, excuse me, he does not know you are here, but he wishes to speak with the officer commanding the local soldier.
Then let him come up. Have dinner for him. Set it here. That is, if he has not dined.
Oh, no, mein Herr, he has not dined. His groom told me that they have not stopped but for a change of horses since they left Vienna.
Have him come up at once.
At once, mein Herr.
You, Marie, sit in the shadows, and we shall hear what he has to say.
This way, sir, in this room. This is Colonel Weinert in command of the troops.
My credentials, sir. Yes. Serve dinner at once, mein host.
I shall have dinner served upon the instant.
Bathurst, King's messenger from Greater Britain.
Yes, sir. I have just returned from an interview with the Emperor of Austria.
Yes?
Yes, England is desirous of finding Austria's feelings in regard to the stupendous strides made by this Napoleon.
Yes?
I have to report, sir, that Napoleon is sweeping everything before him. Within the year, unless some unforeseen force stops him, he will have completely swallowed up all Europe, from the frozen north to the Mediterranean. He will be Emperor of all Europe.
And England?
Yes. His plans include that as well as India, Egypt. And according to our information, America also falls into his scheme of things.
I see. Then I take it you have accurate but secret information of his plan.
Yes. And it is because of them that I have come to you. I must have a guard placed over my secretary, my carriage and horses. I must reach England with these papers. They will convince my government of the necessity of enlisting every man to fight this crazed Napoleon.
Yeah?
The gentleman's dinner, sir.
Bring it in. Sit down, Mr.
But, Colonel,
Nonsense, man. You cannot go to England without eating. Set it here, wench.
Yes, sir. Say that end of the board, Merton.
Yes, Miss Lucy. The gentleman will have his wine warmed.
Yes, if you please.
It is the best wine the country affords, although, sir, it is hard to get.
Stop your chatter, Merton, and serve the gentleman's dinner.
Yes, Miss Lucy.
That will be all now. You may go.
Yes, sir. Come, Merton.
As the colonel had promised, a guard is placed over Bathurst's carriage. The secretary lies down to rest, and outside his door 2 soldiers pace back and forth. Bathurst takes a much-needed rest, lying on the couch in the colonel's room, while outside the storm rises in redoubled fury, sending the snowflakes fluttering into wraith-like drifts. The wind rattling the shutters of the windows wakes Bathurst.
I hope I haven't slept too long.
None. Not a bit of it. You will kill yourself if you keep on at this pace.
Myself? What am I? It is the others we must think of. Napoleon isn't sleeping. At this very moment he may be, who knows, planning another advance, another attack, another country to add to his growing empire. But I waste time in talk. I must be off.
I have already rung for the servants. Come in.
I am ready to leave. Please see that my secretary and groom are round.
Your secretary, sir, is paying the landlord.
And your groom is at the stables getting the horses.
Good. Then take this portmanteau, please. Place it in the coach.
Yes, sir. You will take some wine on the journey, sir?
That has been looked to, Merton. Take the gentleman's portmanteau.
And to you, sir, thank you 1,000 times for your assistance.
I will accompany you to this.
Indeed, you must not. And you, madame, I am ashamed to have used your couch for resting, but needs...
Oh, no. It was nothing, sir. I hope your mission is successful, and England throws her whole force with Austria in the struggle against Napoleon.
Then, goodbye.
Goodbye, Mr.
Goodbye, mon cher.
There you are, sir. Everything will be ready in a moment. The groom is leading the horses from the stables.
It's quite a bad night. If I don't get started, I'll never get through. Oh, yes. Here are the horses.
Giddy up there. Giddy up.
The groom places his lantern on the snow-covered ground and backs the horses into the shafts of the coach. The yellowish gleam of the lantern falls on Bathurst, standing there wrapped in his heavy sable coat. In a few seconds, the horses are harnessed. The landlord places Bathurst's portmanteau in the coach, then turns to Bathurst.
Mr. Bathurst, sir. Why, he's not here. Mr. Bathurst!
But neither calling nor searching revealed any sign of Bathurst. One moment he had been seen standing there in the light of the lantern. The next moment he was gone. So enraged were the people of England over the affair that even the great Napoleon had to take time off from his campaigns and issue a formal denial of his having any part in the mysterious disappearance of the king's messenger, Mr. Bathurst. In just a moment, you will hear a solution to the Bathurst Disappearance mystery.
You're listening to Unsolved Mystery. We'll be right back after these messages. And now let's get back to Unsolved Mystery on When Radio Was.
Ladies and gentlemen, inasmuch as any solution must of necessity be supposition, liberties of time, place, and character have been taken in the solution for which you have been waiting. The scene is the White Swan Inn at Brandenburg. Mertens, the serving man, has finished serving dinner, and slipping down the back stairs, he knocks on one of the inn doors.
Come in. Yes. What is it, Mertens?
The man who just came to the inn is Bathurst, the king's messenger.
What? The man who has had the interview with the Emperor of Austria?
Yes, the same. He's having dinner in Colonel Weinert's room.
We must get hold of his papers.
We can't.
He's already asked for a guard to be placed over everything. Then, during the night, we've got to do it. He's not going to stay all night. He's for England as fast as he can get there. But we can't let an opportunity like this pass. You realize what it will mean if we can do this for Napoleon? It means fame, wealth. I know that Napoleon will reward us if we prevent those papers reaching England. I have an idea. Yes, you stay on watch. When Bathurst is ready to leave, yes, will detain him.
A few hours later, Bathurst stands beside the coach while the landlord places the portmanteau in the back seat. The groom has just backed the horses into place.
Mr. Bathurst, sir.
Yes?
Quiet, sir. I've got information for you.
Yes? What is it?
An English gentleman, sir. He says he cannot come out in the open where he would be recognized. He has information that he says must be taken to England.
Where is he?
Right this way, sir. At the side of the inn, sir.
Oh.
And in the dark shadow of the White Swan Inn, Bathurst, the king's messenger, was struck down. Who knows what difference there might have been in the Napoleonic Wars had the papers he carried reached England. This solution is based upon the following known facts. 50 years after Bathurst's disappearance, a skeleton was found in an old house. The skull showed that death had been caused by a blow on the back of the head. The house was the one Mertens had lived in while working at the inn. In addition, Mertens was known to have owned no property nor to have had any money. Yet to his two daughters, Mertens gave an amount equivalent to $1,500, a lot of money in those days. Several years later, Mertens' wife, when dying, showed that she wished to confess something, but died before she could speak, and her death left the disappearance of Bathurst still an unsolved mystery.
And I know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales, hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. Yes, I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak.
And now, the Whistler's strange story, Fatal Fraud.
The questioning by the Hong Kong police was brief. The suspect's guilt was clear. But even though conviction was a certainty, the motive and circumstances behind the crime were considerably more complex. It had started more than a week ago at a fashionable gathering across the city. A swank social affair with smartly dressed ladies in evening gowns and jewels and gentlemen in dinner jackets. And the precise moment might have been when most of the guests adjourned to the library and listened to a well-known voice and stared at the man who spoke.
In my life has already been long and eventful. I have seen many changes, political, geographical, and social. I have seen tyrants rise and fall, traitors live and die. And through it all, I've seen the British Empire remain the British Empire. England remain England.
Wonderful, Chris. A perfect impersonation.
Oh, that's Churchill, all right. You could sure fool me.
Oh, that's what he's famous for. Isn't it, Chris?
Thank you, but not quite famous.
You should be, young man. All those voices are fantastic.
It's practice, that's all. And a living.
Is it a good living, Mr. Holmes?
Huh? Oh, Catherine. You haven't met our clever young man. Chris Holmes, Catherine Dawn.
How do you do, Miss Dawn?
Fine, thank you. And you do very well, Mr. Holmes.
Oh, you like the impersonation?
Very much.
That routine of yours must be quite tiring, though. Don't you think you've earned yourself a cocktail?
He certainly has. Run along, you two. Will you join me, Miss Dorn?
You know, Mr. Holmes, that's exactly why I came over. I hate to drink alone.
Alone? You? Don't tell me.
I'm not really an invited guest. Just part of the help. A secretary. I'm here with my employer, Albert von Leuven.
Oh, the importer.
Know him?
The very nice little Dutchman, the rosy cheeks, bald head, eyes that sparkle. He holds his head to one side like this when he talks.
Oh. Not impressed, Miss Dorn? You don't think I did him rather well?
You were excellent, Mr. Holmes. Excellent. Come along before the martinis get too wet. Chris, you dance as well as you impersonate.
Sure. Been copying Fred Astaire.
Oh, no, I mean it.
You mean a lot of things, Catherine. Or is it the cocktails?
How many have you had?
Well, I did become a bit impatient waiting while you were talking to your boss, Van Leuven.
You shouldn't have. I was acting in your behalf.
Oh?
You're invited out to his home for a few days.
What? But whose idea?
Mine. I thought it might lead to something for you.
Lead to something?
I think your talents are wasted on nightclubs.
Oh, thanks, but the importing business isn't something one picks up overnight. Catherine, I'm afraid...
Oh, now, relax. You're not going to turn Mr. Van Leuven down. He wouldn't like that.
Catherine is an interesting girl, isn't she, Chris? And you're pleased with her interest in you. Pleased and a little flattered because she's easily the most attractive girl you've seen since you left America. And the following weekend at Van Leuven's, you're even more impressed. Her friendliness puts you perfectly at ease, and you feel almost a part of this way of living. It's a very pleasant way, too, isn't it, Chris? Dinners on the terrace, brandy in the drawing room, excellent company. And later in the evening in Van Leuven's private office, Catherine again. She's standing by a recording machine this time.
Oh, what's this going to be, darling? The Hong Kong lullaby?
You'll see, Chris.
Manila office. Attention, Carter. Regarding back orders on shipments of Oriental rugs. Cancel and hold in warehouse until further instructions. Please notify us immediately regarding jade and artwork. Regards, Van Leuven.
Catherine, why did you have Mr. Van Leuven ask me here? I'm just a guy kicking around.
I know. Maybe better than you think.
Not so sure you do. Oh, I'll admit I might have been in a few deals that were a little shady.
Sure. That's what I said. 2 odds make an even match.
You still haven't told me why you asked me here.
I want you to help me do something. It's simple. He's bringing in some money in a few days. Lots of money. The kind we can keep up with.
What are you talking about?
My boss, Van Leuven, and his Manila office. The details don't matter. All that I'm interested in is the money.
And me.
And you. You know I'm interested in you, Chris.
Draw the pictures, honey. The bright boy's a little dazed right now.
We're going to get that money. Oh, Chris, it'll be easy.
Oh?
Simano will help us.
Simano? Who's he?
He operates the radio shack here. Don't you want money?
Sure.
There's plenty, Chris. And it's all coming in by plane. Van Leuven's plane, in currency. And it will land only where he directs.
Simano?
Mr. Van Leuven. He's going to direct his pilot over the radio. You could change those directions, Chris. You're good
Hey, now, wait a minute.
Chris, there's $100,000 in cash.
100,000?
A third of it can be yours. Oh, Chris, tell me you'll do it. Take this record. Practice Mr. Van Leuven's voice.
Oh, it's a breeze, that part of it. Manila office regarding back orders, Oriental rugs, cancel.
Oh, Chris, telling you marvelous.
You really think we can get away with it, Catherine?
We can and we will, Chris. We will. You do it.
Yeah, I guess so.
The money, Chris, it's real, not an imitation. You'll see.
Decision, haven't you, Chris? Yes, you've decided you're going to help Catherine with her plan to hijack her employer's plane arriving from Manila with almost $100,000 aboard. And your part in it is all so simple. You've only to impersonate Albert Van Leuven's voice. Order the pilot to land his plane at another field where Catherine wants it to land. It seems the opportunity of a lifetime, doesn't it, Chris? And the future grows brighter and brighter as you think about it the following day. Then that evening, Catherine takes you across the back gardens to a low, rambling building, a good distance away from the house. You'll find yourself entering the radio room, where you meet René Simoneau.
René, this is Chris Holmes.
So this is the famous one, eh? The one with the voices.
Hi, Simoneau.
He's going to help us, René.
Is he?
Oh, you don't seem enthused, old boy.
I am not.
He's afraid our little scheme won't work, Chris.
There are other ways, better ways of doing this, Catherine. If you would only listen to me.
René, must we go through all that again? With Chris to help us, we can't fail.
I do not like it, that's all. There are better ways.
Maybe it's the money that bothers him, Catherine. Getting only a third of the loot instead of half.
A third? Catherine, did you tell him?
Yes, I think he's entitled to a third.
I see.
Don't look so glum. Third share will buy you a lot of scented hair oil, Simoneau. Oh, by the way, what's that you have on now? Eau de toilette?
Listen, smart boy. If you know what is good for
Stop
you...
it, René. You're acting like a child. Let him go.
Yeah.
That's better. We've more important things to do than quarrel. What time do you expect the plane to arrive here in Hong Kong?
Around 11 tomorrow night.
Good. We'll be ready. Won't we, Chris?
We will be ready, Katrina, my dear.
You see, René, he is good, isn't he?
Excuse me, Catherine. I have things to do. Excuse me, Catherine. I have things to do.
Darling, you sound just like René.
Well, at least we get along, don't we?
Mm-hmm. Come along, darling.
Captain, can you trust him?
Simoneau? Yes, I can trust him.
What makes you so sure?
Oh, I've known him a long time.
He's in love with you, isn't he? He'd do anything for you.
I suppose.
Were you in love with him once?
What difference does that make?
I just asked. He could make trouble for us later.
You leave him to me. I know how to handle him. And I love you, Chris. Remember that. I love you.
You sure?
I'm sure. Now come along. The guests are on the terrace. We don't want them to miss us.
No, particularly Van Leuven.
Jack. Well, you must talk to him, Chris. Keep studying him.
Mr. Holmes is a very, very clever young man, is he not, my friend? I dare say there isn't one of us here in this room he could not impersonate. You, Major Ritter, for example.
What's that? Me? Oh, I don't know. Oh, I say now, really. You think so?
But that would be perhaps too simple for our young friend. Perhaps we should have him try someone else.
Oh, right, that's good.
Perhaps, Mr. Holmes, you would care to impersonate me. Sorry. I make it a rule never to subject my host to that sort of punishment. Then I am most disappointed. I was certain you were planning a little surprise for me. A surprise, Mr. Van Leuven?
Oh, come on, my boy. Don't try to get out of this one.
My records, Mr. Holmes. I overheard you playing several of them. I thought you were studying my voice. I do have a confession to make, Mr. Van Leuven. I did try to imitate you, but I have to admit defeat. I'm afraid I couldn't quite come up to it. No, really, I'd rather not.
But how about someone else?
Oh, Mr. Holmes, you could try to impersonate my husband, Edgar. His voice is rather unusual, you know. Say something for the man, Edgar. Go on, say something. Hey, go on. What's the matter, darling?
You oblige her, don't you, Chris? And your impersonation of her husband goes over very well. Then you're called on to do others to the delight of the assembled guests. But through it all, you're a little on edge. You haven't forgotten Van Leuven's request that you try to impersonate him. And the rather strange expression on his face when he mentioned having overheard you playing his records. Finally, you manage to break away and look for Catherine. But she's not in the house. And so you wander outside into the garden for a quiet smoke. And then near the radio building, you hear voices.
I'm sure this
Catherine
is a mistake.
and Simano.
But I don't like it, Catherine. I do not like it one bit.
Renee, darling, I told you not to worry.
But what do we know about this Chris Holmes? How can we trust him?
Please, let's not argue. I know what I'm doing. Believe me, Renee, I know what I'm doing. He's important to us now. Without him, we haven't a chance.
Yeah, all right. All right, Catherine. We will do it your way. But once this is over...
Yes, darling, once this is over, then we'll see. We'll see.
One moment. Oh, Catherine.
I want to talk to you, Chris. Inside.
Certainly.
Chris, last night I know you overheard us.
Overheard?
When I was talking to Simano, I saw you walk away. I've got to handle him in my own way. You do believe me?
Was there any reason why I shouldn't?
I wanted to talk to you at breakfast. I didn't know of Van Leuven's plans for his guests, I mean.
Oh, it was fun. Motorboating, lunch at the Hotel Royale, the races. Oh, I get quite used to this life, Catherine.
You might as well. You're going to have it. And soon now.
Oh?
There's been a slight change in plans. Plane has already left Manila.
Already left?
Yes. Simano just told me. It's scheduled to arrive here shortly before 9.
9? We'll be right in the middle of dinner.
I'll tell Van Leuven that you're not feeling well. You won't be down.
Oh. All right.
Now, here's the message. Study it. Be at the radio room in an hour. I'll meet you out there.
Right. The radio room. In an hour.
Oh, Chris. Thank goodness. Hurry. We've established contact with the plane. You know the message?
Yeah, perfectly.
Take the microphone.
Oh, thanks.
Wait.
W682RC. This is Albert Van Leuven. You will disregard previous instructions to land. Proceed to the emergency field and Perlang Road for landing. Repeat, please. Disregard previous instructions to land. Proceed to emergency field on Perlang Road for landing. Got it, Mr. Van Leuven?
This is the place. We ought to be able to hear the plane's motor soon.
Yeah, that's it. Right on schedule.
Let's get out there for the landing. You wait here for us, Chris. Renee and I will meet the pilot.
Okay, but go easy on him. I won't hold still for murder.
Don't worry. He won't be harmed. We'll just tie him up.
Everything go all right, Catherine?
Perfect.
Here, Simon, I'll take the briefcase. Feels nice and full.
Better let me take care of the briefcase, gentlemen.
It's okay with me. Simon?
What can I say but yes?
I'll take good care of it. Get in, Renee.
Well, now what?
Back to town. I've made arrangements for us to leave by boat tonight. I'll drive you back to Van Leuven's, Chris. What about you, Rene?
I would rather not go back. Drop me off at the little cafe near the waterfront. I like their food.
All right. Wait there until you hear from me.
I think I'll try Simoneau's waterfront cafe, too. It's all right with him.
Maybe it would be better for you to go with Simoneau, Chris.
Let him come along. It makes no difference to me.
Good. Let's get started.
Come on, relax, Simoneau, relax. Enjoy the piano music.
I do not like this waiting. Catherine should have been called by now. We have been here nearly 3 hours.
Forget it. Enjoy yourself. And this brandy's wonderful. Hey, where you going, Simoneau?
To get another drink. Our waiter seems to have too many tables to take care of.
After Simoneau leaves the table, you're suddenly aware of someone staring at you. An old man, standing a few feet away, a look of uncertainty on his face, indecision. Then swiftly he moves toward you, hands you a slip of paper, and darts into the crowd. You unfold the paper and read.
We will leave on the 2 a.m. plane for Singapore. The two of us, darling. It's been just the two of us from the beginning. Come at once. I'll have the briefcase. Catherine.
You stare at the paper in your hand. The carefully drawn diagram of the meeting place. The rendezvous where Catherine will be waiting. A quiet side street. Then suddenly it hits you. The original plan had been for you to go back to Van Leuven's home. Simoneau to come to the cafe. You're sure the old man made a mistake, aren't you, Chris? That the note he gave you was intended for Simoneau. You're certain that it's been Simoneau and Catherine all along. That they've been just using you. You should have suspected that after what you overheard in the garden last night. You slip the paper back into your pocket as Simoneau approaches.
Did I miss anything?
Huh? Oh, no, not a thing, pal. Hey, you got a cigarette?
Here. Help yourself.
Oh, thanks. Oh, that's all you got?
You do not like our local brands?
Sorry, I always like the best.
There is a tobacco shop down the street, on the other side. Do not get lost.
I'll try not to.
Shall I draw you a diagram?
Diagram? No, thanks. I already have a diagram.
Waiting here in the shadows for Catherine, you feel a little foolish about the way you've been used, don't you, Chris? Only the money matters to you now. And you're sure you'll be able to take it for yourself and leave them. Catherine and Simoneau. That's the way it is, isn't it? The way it's been from the beginning. You're certain of it. You were just a puppet who could help them. The man with the many voices. Especially the one that sounded exactly like Albert Van Leuven. Well, it's all over now. Your foolish dream that there was anything more to it than a coldly calculated hijacking job. As you stand in the darkness waiting for Catherine, it becomes annoying. The way her words come drifting back, mixing you up, challenging your judgment.
2 odds make an even match, don't they, Chris? I love you, Chris. Remember that. I love you.
Yeah, sure. Sure you'll love me.
You tighten, draw back into the shadows at the sound of a twig snapping. Then you see her, Catherine, approaching slowly toward you. Your eye catches something else, too. The glint of moonlight on the gun in her hand. Suddenly your blood runs cold as you realize the real reason for that note. It was sent to lure either you or Simoneau here to his death. And you were certain the note was meant for Rene Simoneau. Now you wonder, maybe it wasn't Catherine and Simoneau all the time.
Who is it? Who's there?
As Catherine's voice comes through the darkness, you know you've got to decide. You can answer with either voice, your own or Simoneau's, and your decision will mean life or death. Then, as suddenly as it came, the panic leaves you. Instantly, the whole thing seems clear to you. You were a fool to think otherwise. You are certain that the old man who gave you the note did not make a mistake, that the note was meant for you, and that the bullet in Catherine's gun is also meant for you. But you're sure there's still a way out, aren't you, Chris? Yes. You'll speak to her as Renee Simoneau. She'll come to you. Disarming her and taking the briefcase will be easy. You wait for her to speak again.
Answer me. Who's there?
Do not be afraid, Catherine. It is I, Renee Simoneau.
The Whistler. Listen next week when once again the United States Air Forces in Europe present The Whistler.
Good evening, friends of the creaking door. This is your host to welcome you once again into the inner sanctum. Come on in for the crime of your lives and meet one of the illustrious inmates from our Who's Who. This cadaverous cut-up is Mr. Seymour Blade. His wife had a tiff with him and punctuated it with a kitchen knife through the middle, which is, of course, one way of making your point sting. All right, then lend a fear now to some grim happenings and hear what kind of profit our star Boris Karloff in the role of Mark Evers reaped when he put up Death for Sale. The ashtray in the reception room is stuffed with half-smoked cigarettes. The disheveled man waiting paces his caged animal steps this way and that. Each second his eyes dart to the door at the end of the room, at the slightest sound. At last, the knob turns. The door swings wide open.
Well, Doctor? Your wife is in pretty bad shape.
Cora Evers? My wife.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought, forget it. Bad shape. But you're going to pull out of it, right? Mr. Devers, she's not going to pull out of it? Well, it doesn't look as if she will. What? There's a chance. Only a very small one, but still a chance. You're lying. She's going to pull out of it. She's got to. We're doing everything we can. Look, even if she has to die, you could pull her out of it for an hour, couldn't you? Just an hour so that she could sign something, and it means everything to me, Doc. You could give her a shot or something, couldn't you? Good day, Mr. Devers. I'll give you $5,000. Good. $10,000, Doc. And you fool! You don't understand. You've got to do this for me. You've got to. You've got to. You. The doctor doesn't understand. He'd do the same in my case. So would you. So would anybody. $50,000. I was 1 hour away from $50,000. Money that belongs to me. My money that I waited 7 long years for, and I won't be cheated out of it. 7 long years. It all seemed so simple then, so sure. We had a perfect plan for $50,000, and nothing was going to keep us from it, and nothing did. Up to 3 weeks ago. That was when Cora called me at the office. I just thought she was imagining things again as she had right along. I told her so, but she said no. This man was watching her night and day.
He is, Mark. He's outside the house right now.
Oh, come now, Cora.
I tell you he is.
Oh, you're just imagining things again. Why don't you try
I'm not imagining anything. He's right outside the house across the street, and
You'll be positive after 7 years?
I know I've been wrong before, but this time I'm sure Elliot's come back and...
What?
The doorbell just rang.
Who is it? Evelyn?
I suppose so. We're supposed to go to the movies together.
Good idea. It'll take your mind off believing everyone you see is Elliot Starr.
You're not coming home, then?
Not till I've finished at the office.
All right, Ma. Suit yourself.
Goodbye, darling. My best to Evelyn.
Ma? Oh, all right, I'm coming. I was on the phone, Evelyn.
Aren't you going to ask me in? Oh, of course. After all these years, you've probably forgotten who I am. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Elliot Starnes, your beloved husband.
Elliot, you're supposed to be
dead? Yes, I know I'm supposed to be, Cora, but as you can see, I'm very much alive.
I knew it was you this time. I know it.
I think you better ask me in, don't you? After all, it isn't very often that a husband comes back from the dead.
Back from the dead. That's what he was, all right. And when Cora called me this time, I didn't say I couldn't leave the office. All right, Cora, pull yourself together.
But, Mark, you don't understand.
Oh, yes, I do. You've been scared for the last 7 years, and you're going to go on being scared for the rest of your life.
He wants $5,000 more to disappear again.
Well, I didn't expect him to come back just to say hello. Of course he wants more money.
What are we going to do? He knows that we collect that $50,000 insurance money 3 weeks from now. He says if we don't come through with his 5, he'll go straight to the insurance company.
Don't be a fool. He's in this thing as much as we are. He won't do anything to spoil his chances. All he wants is money.
The longer he's around, the more chance we take that somebody might recognize him. Mark, we can go to jail.
We waited a long time to get our hands on this money, and I don't expect to be cheated out of it now.
You're going to give him the $5,000.
I don't know. Maybe. But nothing. When did he say he's coming back?
Tonight. After midnight.
All right. I'll be here. We'll handle Elliot once and for all, and after this time, there won't be any coming back. I guess no matter how carefully you plan, there's always that one small thing you fail somehow to cover. 7 years before, I was sure we'd covered everything. And it was clever. Really clever. The law says that if a body isn't recovered after 7 years' time, a man is declared legally dead. So we found us a body, Cora and I did. We found Elliot Starnes and sold him on debt for $5,000.
Sure, I'll do it. I'll marry Cora and then disappear. For $5,000, you can sell me on anything.
He married Cora, and a little while after the policy was issued, his automobile was found at the bottom of Ridgely's Pond. The police dragged the water for days, but naturally didn't find the body, and the insurance people exercised their right to withhold payment till Elliot was declared legally dead.
I understand, gentlemen, and I don't even care about the money. All I care about is that my poor husband is dead.
It was clever, all right, and Cora put on a good act. We knew we'd cash in where others had failed because we weren't anxious. We were willing to wait for 7 years. And wait we did. It was a perfect plan. Nothing was going to keep us from it. Nothing except... Now, Elliot had come back. He swore he'd never return, and he'd gone back on his word. But by midnight, I'd made up my mind how to handle Elliot.
No, Mark.
The only way.
No.
The only way. This 5 that he wants, that's only the beginning. He'll hold us up all his life.
No.
He'll drain us dry of every cent of that 50,000.
I won't let you do it.
Yes, you will. We're in this far. You won't back down now.
I've got to. I never dreamed it would turn out like this.
Another few weeks and he'll be legally dead.
There must be another way.
Only this, believe me. And after it's done, it'll be you and me and nobody the wiser. Go on. Open the door for him.
What?
Cora, do what I say.
I can't.
You've got to.
All right.
set. Hello. Oh, Cora. Oh, won't you come in, Elliot? Thanks, my dear. Don't mind if I do. Mark here yet, Cora?
Yes. He's in the living room.
Oh, fine. Then you and Mark have agreed on the deal for me.
Yes, we have. Come in, Elliot. Everything's set.
So Mark is waiting for Elliot in the, you'll pardon the expression, living room. Whatever happens to Elliot actually serves him right. After all, here in the Sanctum, we don't go for live people walking around as if they were ghosts. It's enough to scare the death out of her. Poor Cora is so nervous. She just can't look a corpus delicti in the prima facie. Well, enough grave philosophy. Suppose we let our star, Boris Karloff, take up our stock story where we left off.
Everything was set. I planned to kill Elliot with the knife I held behind me, and I felt absolutely no compunction about it.
Are you... You're joking.
No, Elliot.
You're crazy. Cora, stop him. You'll never get away with it. Mark, no!
I buried him in the back of the house. I say I did, because Cora wasn't much use to anyone that night or for several days afterwards. She got over it, as I knew she would. She got over it when she realized that I was right, that we had gotten away from it. And no one could ever know, and no one would miss him. She got over it when I reminded her that in just one more week, we'd be sharing that $50,000.
Just 1 week.
That's right, Cora.
I've been a lot of trouble to you these past few days. I am sorry.
Oh, forget it. It's all over.
Yes, it is. I'll feel a lot better when the money's actually ours. Somehow, way in the back of my mind, I feel that maybe we won't...
Look, darling, it's as good as ours now. There's nothing left in the way, not a single thing.
1 week.
That's all.
Oh.
Now, wouldn't you know? You expecting anyone?
No.
Evelyn?
Not at this hour.
Well, whoever it is, get rid of them.
Yes, darling. I'll get rid of them. Yes?
Mrs. Stein?
Yes?
Mrs. Elliot Stein?
That's right.
I want to talk to you. Here's my card.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm busy right now.
Too busy to see me. I can promise you that.
Oh, now, see, sure.
Nice card, ain't it? Real fancy engraving. Mrs. Elliot Stein. That's right. I'm the woman Elliot married after he disappeared 7 years ago. Now, I don't think you're going to be too busy to see me after all. Do you?
Maybe it's fate. Maybe it's all in the cards. You work hard. You think out a plan that's letter perfect. Then up pops the unexpected, forcing you into the first desperate step to lick it. First Elliot Stein himself, then his second wife that we didn't know existed.
And here's our wedding license, just in case you don't believe me. Here, you can look at it.
Take it easy, Cora. We believe you're his wife, Mrs. Stein.
And he's got a birthmark?
We said we believe you. Now, what do you want?
What does any good woman want? My husband.
And why come here?
Where else would I go?
I'm afraid we don't understand. Do we, Cora?
No, I'm afraid you do.
Now, look here.
I'm afraid you understand awful well. Elliot told me.
Told you what?
What you two were doing. He also told me if he should fail to come home after a couple of days.
Mrs. Stein, we haven't seen your husband for 7 years.
Now, you don't expect me to believe that, do you?
I don't see why not.
I do. You see, Mr. Devers, the other day, with my own eyes, I seen Elliot walk into this house. But I didn't see him walk out again. What's the matter, Mr. Devers? You got nothing to say?
What do you want, Mrs. Stein?
My husband, of course. Only since you killed him, I can't very well have that, can I?
What?
He's the only man I ever loved, and you killed him. I never should have let him come here. For days I begged him not to.
Mrs.
I made a
Starnes.
mistake letting him come here. I know that now. But I want him back. I love him, and I want Elliot back.
You want your husband, Mrs. Starnes? Or a substantial sum of money?
Huh?
How much?
How can you talk about money at a time like this?
5,000?
I loved my husband, Mr. Dean.
7,500? Well, how much?
25,000.
What?
In cash.
Mark.
Let me handle this, Cora. And if we refuse?
Well, then I'll just naturally have to tell my story to the police.
Cora.
Oh, let's drop all the small talk, Mr. Devers. I want 25,000 and I want it fast. Now make up your mind.
I'll make up my mind.
No, Mr. Devers, don't get rough. I'm not as dumb as my ex-husband. I've taken steps against anything happening to me.
No, Mark.
Better listen to her.
You're not getting away with this.
Then you don't get away with Elliot's murder.
So help me.
Before you put that hand on me, you better have your lady friend look out that window.
What?
There's a taxi across the street, Mark.
My taxi. And the driver knows I'm in here. You'd have to kill him, too. Elliot's ever-loving second wife is here to stay. If you want to get her out of your life, the cost is going to be $25,000. By this time tomorrow night.
After she left, I had some work to do on Cora.
It won't be the same way, Mark. Not another murder.
Said anything like that.
Promise me? Not the same way.
Sure, promise. After all, if we can get away with 25,000, is that so bad?
I'd rather settle for none of it.
Huh?
That money won't do us any good now.
Why not?
It just won't.
Oh, you're all upset. You'll feel differently day after tomorrow when you sign those papers in the insurance office and they hand that fat check over to you.
No, Mark. I'll never feel differently about it again.
I knew I couldn't work Cora my way much longer. But it was just 2 more days. 2 more days to get that 50,000. Just 2 things to settle in just 2 days. First, there was Mrs. Starr. When she came to my apartment the next night, I handed the envelope over to her.
It's all here?
You can open the envelope and count it if you like.
I don't have to, do I?
And what if I cheated you?
You wouldn't. I could always come back.
You could always come back for more anyway.
What do you think I am?
Doesn't make any difference now what I think.
Okay. No hard feelings.
There are, but they won't bother me for long.
Of course not. That money you're collecting will cure that.
I'll be cured before then.
That's your business.
It's yours, too, now.
I don't see how.
Now, do you see?
Put that knife down.
I will. Into you.
No. Don't. Please.
That door's locked. You can't get out.
Don't. You can have the money back.
There isn't any money in that envelope.
What?
Just strips of newspaper. Where can I get $25,000?
I don't care about the money.
I do. I cared about it for 7 years. Cared enough to murder once, and I can do it again. Now, Mrs. Starnes, I've no hard feelings towards you. None at all. Just 2 things to take care of in just 2 days. The first, Mrs. Starnes was taken care of, and the second was now just an hour away. The 50,000 was waiting in the insurance office for Cora. All she had to do was sign her name on some papers to get it. Oh, you can imagine how relieved I was as I sat next to Cora when she drove to the insurance office. But it was different with Cora. Cora didn't say a word.
There's nothing left to say, Mark.
Oh, money won't make you talk, Cora. You wait and see. After you get your hands on the... Hey, you're taking the wrong street.
No, Mark.
Sure you are. This is the way.
It's the only way left for us, Mark.
Huh?
We're driving straight out of town. We're never coming back. There'll be no more murders.
Cora.
I know you killed that woman.
Now, where did you ever get that idea? I paid her and she left.
I was outside your apartment house last night.
All right. So you know now. What did you expect? I couldn't let it all go down the drain, not after 7 years? Turn the car around.
No.
You're going to sign those papers. I want that money.
It's too late, Bart.
Not fun it is.
Let go.
You're turning this car around.
Bart, the wheel, let go.
I wasn't even scratched in the crash. Cora wasn't that lucky. I rushed her here to the hospital, and you heard what the doctor said. There's a chance. Only a small one, but still a chance. No, the doctor doesn't understand. There's got to be more than only one small chance. I was 1 hour away from that $50,000. Money that belongs to me, money that I've waited 7 years for, and I won't be cheated out of it. Cora's got to live. She's got to sign those papers. Well, Doctor, there's someone waiting for you down the corridor, Mr. Deaver. What about Cora? There's still a chance, isn't there? No chance at all anymore. You're lying. The gentleman is waiting. You're lying. She's not dead. She can't be. The gentleman is from the police. She asked me to call. It's a lie. She's not dead. Mr. Deaver, try to understand. She is... No! It's not true, and I won't listen to you. She's got to sign those papers. You've only got to keep her alive another hour. You're a doctor. You can do that. Mr. Deaver, 7 years. Don't you understand? Oh, I can't let 7 years go down the drain. 7 years. It can't turn out that way. No. She's not dead. So Mark's 50,000 went down the drain after all. And Mark went down the hatch of a scaffold. You know, I can't feel sorry for Mrs. Starnes. She should have known that a rolling widow gathers only moss to live. Yes, when you use a dead husband for blackmail, you're bound to end up face down. Oh, a footnote. When you're dealing with life insurance, remember, honesty is the best policy. Well, friends, it's time once again to close that creaking door. Until next week at the same time, when we'll be back with a little hunk of horror. You'll be sure to listen, won't you? Sanctum has come to you through the worldwide facilities of the United States Armed Forces Radio and Television Service.
Quiet, please. Broadcasting System presents Quiet Please, which is written and directed by Willis Cooper and which features Ernest Chappell. Quiet Please for tonight is called Clarissa. No. He was dead before the fire started. I've told you that a dozen times. No, I can't prove it, of course not. You'll just have to believe me. Take my word for it. I can't prove he was dead. You can't prove he wasn't. And anyway, what difference does it make? Now, I'm sorry. I can't hear you very well. Yes. Well, all right. It was an old black shell of a house. A house that has lived too long. A house where the floors groaned in pain at night, where the windows shuddered at the gentlest touch of the wind, where door latches suddenly gave up their grip and let the night come snipping into the house to paw at your eyes and wake you to the other silences that lay around you. It was never warm there. In the winter, old Heinz kept a fire going in the fireplace in the old sitting room, but the logs were scrawny and the draft was bad, and the flames seemed to grudge us their warmth, so that we shivered all through the day. We're glad when night came and we could escape to the meager comfort of the drafty bedrooms. And in the summer there was a dampness about the place. An unhealthy clamminess drifted from the walls and stirred uneasily among the ancient smells of decay that clung to the place. Well, I suppose you could call old Heinz a character. You said you didn't know him? An immigrant from the Rhineland sometime in the early 70s. That would make him, let me see, how old?
Ich war im Rheinland geboren. In der Jahrzeit 1862.
That's right, 1862. He was an old man, but he never appeared old. You might have taken him for a vigorous man of 60. His hair and his scraggly mustache were jet black. I suspect he dyed them regularly. And his blue eyes seemed as keen as those of a boy of 18. And he'd never been away from the house for a single night, he used to say, from the day he bought it and moved into it in 1888. And it was an old house then. Yes, I spent some very dreary days and nights in that house. What? I couldn't afford a better place to live. Well, people don't go to live in a haunted house if they can find another place, you know. Well, yes, of course, I'd heard it was haunted before I went there to live. Do you believe in haunted houses? No. Neither did I, of course. Well, I agree, it did look like a haunted house. I've told you about the sounds in the night. I've told you about some of the sounds in the night. Yes, of course, there were other sounds. Well, please, let me tell it my own way. Well, Clarissa, for instance. Clarissa in particular. Clarissa above everything else. I had lived there nearly a year. Heinz and I sat that first night alongside the fireplace. I remember he'd asked me to share a bottle of Brent Custer Doctor with him. We sat in front of the stingy little fire. There was a kerosene lamp on the table, and Heinz in his old black coat with the sleeves that were too short.
You like the wine then, Jesse?
Yeah, very much. Very much.
I have not much left. This is from before the war when it was easier to get, you see, but now, well, it is almost their last.
You shouldn't be so generous with it, Heinz.
Oh, no. Good wine always schmeckt besser, wenn mit a friend you drink it, nicht wahr? A little more?
Not for a moment, thanks.
Yes, to sit by the fire and look down into the coals and see images of the scenes past. And drink wine and see the images grow clearer. It is good in the old age.
You've lived here alone for a long time?
Yeah, for a long time. Long time. I'm used to it. Used to the nights and the little fire and the silences.
Yes.
It is cold for this time of the year.
Listen.
What's it, Rose?
Oh, I thought I heard someone singing.
So?
Did you hear anything?
It is Clarissa.
What did you say?
Clarissa, my daughter.
Well, I didn't know you had a daughter, Heinz.
Yes. Is there more wine?
No, thanks. I haven't seen her around.
No.
Well, is she... Excuse me, Heinz.
You will forgive me, Jesse. She's a child. I do not wish you to be bothered.
Why, she wouldn't bother me, Heinz. I like children.
There's enough left here in the bottle for one more for each of us, huh?
Thank you, Heinz.
Yes? Schlaf wohl.
And I drank the last of the wine with the old man. And then I climbed the creaking stairs to the dreary little room, carrying the kerosene lamp in one hand and casting fabulous shadows on the peeling wallpaper. Seeing the ancient plush-covered rocking chair nodding away at me as I entered the room, as if a startled occupant had suddenly deserted it at the sound of my footsteps on the stairs. And the cold spring rain drenching the window panes. And the murmured complaints of the beams and rafters of the old house. The pleasant, musty fumes of the wine I had drunk kept sleep away for a while when I'd blown out the lamp. And the melody of that children's song flowed again across my mind as I lay there. My thoughts wandered to the lonely child that dwelt in the haunted house with the old man and the new-come student. I smiled to myself as I thought, now that settles the question of the house being haunted, doesn't it? People have heard the little girl singing to herself in the night. They've not known that a little girl lived here, too. And, that's the ghost. And I smiled again at superstitions. And another idle thought struck me. I wondered at the child's age. 10 or 12 years old by the sound of her voice. And somewhere in the back of my drowsy mind, I seem to remember that Heinz had told me Helena, his wife, had died... Well, was it the year of the San Francisco earthquake? Well, that would be 1906. That would be 42 years ago. And this was a child of 10 or 12. I must have been mistaken. I was getting sleepy. The wine, the rain, the dark. Well, you wanted the whole story. I'm telling it to you. In the morning, Heinz was working in his garden, and the early sun made the old house seem a little more cheerful, a little more livable. There was a tinge of green through the gray of the fields that surround the house, and Heinz told me he'd seen a robin. I stood and watched him a long time, and I don't think he noticed how my eyes wandered to the windows of the old house, searching for a flash of color that might be a child's hair ribbon, or how I listened for the sound of a young voice singing a little song the children who danced so long ago on the bridges of Avignon. I didn't even notice that I was humming a song under my breath.
Clarissa's song, nicht?
What? Oh.
Well, that's Clarissa's song.
That kid used to sing it when I was young.
Yeah, my wife is French. She taught the song to Clarissa.
Oh?
Yeah, it is an old song.
How old is your daughter, Heinz? How old?
Oh, she's young.
Is she pretty?
Oh, yeah. Your breakfast?
Coffee. I found it on the stove.
Clarissa made it.
Oh, did she?
You'd better go to work now, huh?
Yes, I suppose so. You don't need to keep the little girl out of sight on my account, Heinz. I like children.
Oh, she bothers you.
Oh, no, I've got a little sister back home.
Oh, yeah?
Miriam. She's 11.
Clarissa is older.
Oh? Miriam's got bright yellow hair.
Clarissa has dark hair.
Yeah, I got a picture of her here.
Oh, so? She's very pretty. I have no picture of Clarissa.
Oh, that's too bad.
Well, I'll see you tonight, huh?
Yes? Yes, sure, Heinz. I should have let the thing drop then and there. If the old man felt that children should be kept away from adults, that was his privilege, of course. And although I was often lonely for other company than the old man, I was a dweller in his house, naturally subject to his wishes. My work? No, I never left the place. My book? Oh, I was writing a book. No, not very exciting. Mathematics. I have some theories. No, the book is gone. The fire, you remember? I could understand Heinz. I thought he obviously had a great respect for a man's work, especially a work of such apparent erudition. I must not be disturbed. I might stay in my room day and night with my slide rules and my profile paper and my broken flower pot full of sharpened pencils. I was not to be disturbed. But how many times I wished for the happy sound of my little sister Miriam's gay laughter. Found myself listening for the lilt of the little girl song that she used to sing, and that Clarissa knew too. Heinz mentioned Clarissa occasionally.
I sometimes wish that I could have sent Clarissa to school, Jesse.
Well, it's too bad you didn't.
Always there was never enough money.
Why, there are schools. Public schools, Heinz.
No, not for Clarissa's free schools.
You know, I wonder.
Wonder?
Well, children are supposed to go to school. I'm surprised that the school authorities haven't been to see about sending her.
The police?
Oh, no, not the police. But there are laws about schools. I mean, you might find yourself in trouble if they discover you have a daughter of school age.
They will come here.
Well, if they find out.
Jesse, you will not tell.
Now, look here, Heinz. You're not being fair to the child.
Yes.
No, really, I mean it. Hasn't she ever been to school?
Well, I teach her a little.
Well, Heinz, it's none of my business. But you're doing her a very serious harm.
No. Listen, Jesse. You don't tell anybody about her.
Well, I don't know, Heinz. If they come and ask me...
Jesse, listen. I tell you something.
Well?
Clarissa can't go to school.
Well, why not? I told you it doesn't cost anything.
It is not that.
Well, then?
She's not well.
Oh, I'm sorry, Heinz. Look, would you like it if I gave her a little of my time and taught her some of the elementary...
No, please, don't.
Well, I'd be glad to.
No.
Well, have it your way, Heinz. I don't mean to intrude on your affairs, but after all, a child...
I'm sorry, Jesse. I thank you, but no.
All right. Forget it. But I couldn't forget it. A kindly old man. Yes, he was kindly. And a sick child who had never seen the inside of a schoolroom, who was growing up to become... what? In an ancient, moldering house, a house that had lived too long, alone with a father born 86 years ago. Alone at night in the darkness with the house, grumbling and complaining around me. I thought about the plight of the child. Sometimes I could hear her song far away somewhere in the dank recesses of that crumbling house. And my thoughts revolved again about this mystery. Heinz said she was not well. Heinz would not allow her to appear. Was Clarissa some misshapen monster child that she must be pent up and never see the sun? Was she... I detest mysteries of that kind. I love the good, clean mysteries of abscissa and ordinate, the logarithm and anti-logarithm, of the calculus and the grand old theorems devised by the ancients. But the fascinating mysteries of the human mind and of human behavior are alien to me. Them I hate. And my thoughts crept further and further away from the 10 numbers as doubt and speculation about the child laid hold of my mind. In the night, how often I heard her sobs, I thought, sometimes close outside my door. And yet when I opened the door, there was nothing. And old Heinz grew more and more taciturn. He never spoke of his daughter. He seemed to avoid me by day and to disappear by night. But the summer came then, and the fall, and winter. My look was going badly, and my thoughts wandered. I must leave this place, I thought. I'll find out this mystery. And again I asked the old man if there was not something I might do for this pathetic child, this invisible, haunting voice.
No, Jesse. There is nothing you could do.
But Christmas is coming, Heinz. What can I get her for Christmas?
No, why not, Jesse?
What?
Her name. She died on the eve of Christmas.
Well, but Heinz, you owe it to the child.
No. Let us not speak of it again.
But to me, the thought of Christmas passing by this child was unspeakable. I determined that if the old man would do nothing about it, I would. You know, I had little money, and there was so little I could do. But I did come into the town here, and I found a toy for her. I found one I could afford. A little woolly lamb. A little woolly white lamb with black buttons for eyes and a blue silk ribbon about its neck and a gay little blue flower in its mouth. I hung a little card about its neck that said, Merry Christmas to Clarissa. And on Christmas Eve, Heinz and I shared the last bottle of Den Kostler Doctor before the miserly little fire. And I gave him one of the handkerchiefs my little sister Miriam had sent me, and he gave me an old stone krug with a heavy pewter top that he said came from Heidelberg. And we regretted that there was no creamy Pilsner Urquell to drink from it. Wished each other a happy Christmas. And then, in the night, I was awakened by a tiny sound. And I lay awake silently for a moment. And there was another sound. A hesitant little footstep. And a rustling at the dresser across the room from me. And I lay quietly and listened. Is that you, Clarissa? Is that you, Clarissa? Do you like it? Good. Happy Christmas. I'm sorry, that's all I could get you. But I hope you like it. And I felt the touch of a tiny hand on my shoulder, and lips brushed my cheek, and the door closed. And the sound of her voice in the little song was happier now than I'd ever heard it. So I knew at last that Clarissa was not a ghost, but a living person. And I felt more at peace with myself as I realized that this was what had been plucking not living in the midst of fantasy. I had wondered what Heinz would say. He was perfectly natural about it.
It was good of you, Jesse.
Good? What?
To find a gift for Clarissa.
Oh, did you like it?
Ah.
Well, I'm glad.
She asked me to say Dankeschön to you.
Then I say Bitteschön.
It is good. You're a kind person, Jesse.
I wish it could have been more.
Oh, it is a very rich gift. Never has she had such a thing.
Is she going to have Christmas dinner with us, Heinz?
No.
So, I had won a little victory in this conflict with the darkness. But I was to go no further. I asked Heinz about her. Heinz answered shortly. I suggested that a birthday gift might be in order if I only knew her birthday. I proposed writing to my own sister and begging her for outworn storybooks that Clarissa might read, even if she must stay aloof from the rest of the house. Heinz did not reply. Everything was as it had always been, so long as the name of Clarissa was not mentioned. But when it came in the late spring, when it was cold and windy again, and the raw snow pelted against the windows and the whole house shivered, I heard her crying again in the night, and there was a quality in her voice this time that brought me out of the bed and into the hall. I called in alarm. Clarissa! I stepped back into my room and lit the kerosene lamp. And as I stepped out again toward the hallway, Heinz confronted me.
What's my answer, Jesse?
Why, can't you hear her, Heinz? Something's wrong. She's sick.
No, go back by your room, Jesse.
Oh, but Heinz...
Don't beat me, Jesse. Go back.
Now, Heinz, listen to me. Something's awfully wrong with that child, and
I will take care of her, Jesse.
Please, Heinz.
In your room.
Now, see, here,
I take care of my own men, huh? And...
I reached for the door at once, but it was locked from the outside. And I beat on it and stormed at it in the cold. But for once it held. I screamed at the father, threatening every kind of vengeance on him, till at last I suddenly realized that I was being hysterically silly. In the silence, I could hear nothing but the moan of the wind around the rusty cornices of the house and the hiss of snowflakes against the window. I sat down, shaken, bitter at myself for giving way to such an outburst over a child crying in the night. And at last I lay down again, and in the frosty silence of the early dawn, I fell asleep. And when I awoke, hours later, and found my door unlocked again, Heinz was not to be found. Not that day, nor the next. I tramped through the house, opening doors, calling him, calling Clarissa. There was not a sound to answer me. I found a little wood and made a miserable fire. I suppose I ate. I don't remember any too well. And at night I went to bed till I, shivering for hours, straining my ears for a sound. The sound of a child's song. The sound of a father's footstep in the cold darkness. And it was morning, nearly morning. Gray fingers of morning plucking at the frost-rimed windows. And I awoke to see Heinz standing beside my bed. In the 2 days, he seemed to have aged 20 years. He was an old, old man. He spoke to me.
Jesse, my friend.
What's the matter, Heinz?
No much matter, Jesse. I am dying.
Why, Heinz?
It is finished now, Jesse. Unless is horrible.
Well, here, sit down.
No. Hear me. See, the key to Clarissa's room. You take it.
he all right?
Hi. Too late for me now. Go. Clarissa's room. Do what is to be done.
I lifted him to the bed. I bent over him. I listened for his heart. There was no sound. Heinz was dead. Yes, just as I told you before, he died. He died there in my room, yes. What? Oh, yes. In the little half-light, I found the kerosene lamp and I lit it. I took the key from the floor where he dropped it. No. I found the room very easily. It was at the far end of the hall. I called. Clarissa? Clarissa? And there was no answer. So I unlocked the door. And holding the light above my head, I walked over to the bed. And there, lying on the bed, dressed in a pinafore that might have come out of the 10-year drawing in Alice in Wonderland, clutching a little woolly lamb to her breast, there lay a tiny, old woman with long white hair braided into pigtails. Clarissa. And I knew why I hadn't heard the little song for 2 days. And so when the lamp dropped out of my hand and the flames started licking around the dry as dust draperies and the fragile old oaken boards on the floor, I turned and went out of the house. Well, what else was there to do? The house had lived too long. And so had the father and daughter who dwelt there.
Tonight was called Clarissa, and the man who spoke to you was Ernest Chappell.
And Heinz was played by Bruno Vick. Clarissa by Peggy Stanley. As usual, music for Quiet Please is by Albert Berman. Now a word from our writer-director, Willis Cooper.
The characters in tonight's Quiet Please are neither living nor dead. They enjoy neither of these interesting conditions because they're solely the invention of my own imagination, intended to represent nobody at all. Quiet Please for next week is called 13 and 8.
And so until next week at the same time, I am quietly yours, Ernest Chappell.
Quiet Please comes to you from New York. This is the world's largest network serving more than 450 radio stations, the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Stay where you are. Do not break the stillness of this moment, for this is a time of mystery, a time when imagination is free and moves forward swiftly, silently. This is the Haunting Hour.
The thought.
Ladies and gentlemen, for your pleasure and amazement, the 78th Club presents the great Marlowe, the mental marvel. Gifted with a seventh sense, the great Marlowe reads your mind, tells your every thought. Now, let me warn you, if you have a secret you don't want him to know, just don't think about it. Presenting the great Marlowe.
Thank you. Thank you. Frankly, I can't explain the performance you're about to witness. Science, without explaining it, calls it telepathy. Thought transfer.
I call it hokum.
The gentleman says it's hokum. Maybe. We'll see. Now, everybody in this room, concentrate. Think of a thing or a person. Concentrate. Think hard. I have a thought. Someone is thinking of the initials SG. Will the person thinking of SG please rise?
I've been thinking of SG.
Oh, thank you. Young lady, you are concentrating on the name of Stanley Green. Is that right?
Well, yes.
Stanley is in the Army, I believe. Correct.
Yes, he's a sergeant.
And you want me to tell you Stanley's serial number? It's 34000767. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. I have another thought. Someone is thinking. Ladies and gentlemen, please bear with me a moment. I'll have to stop this performance. Believe me, it's important. I'll be back very shortly.
I told you it was hokum. What happened, Professor? Forget your code?
Hey, what's the idea of stopping the act that way? Where's your telephone directory, Moreno? What are you trying to do, ruin my club's reputation? Shut up, Moreno. Where's your... Oh, here.
Now, listen, Marlowe, I'm paying you $2,000 a week.
Glenwood.
I expect to get my money's worth.
Listen, will you please leave? Just as soon as I'm through with this call, I'll finish the act.
All right, but make it snappy.
And close the door. I should like to speak to Helen Thornton.
This is Mrs. Thornton.
Helen Thornton?
Yes. Who's this?
My name is Marlowe. I'm a telepathist performing at the 78 Club. A few moments ago, during my act, I received a thought that is vital to you. Are you alone?
Yes.
Do as I say, please. Lock all your windows and doors. Allow no one in under any circumstances.
This is someone's idea of a practical joke.
No, Mrs. Thornton. This is no joke. Someone here in this nightclub is planning to kill you.
Hello?
This is Mildred, Helen. I just got in.
Oh, I've been trying to get you for hours. I know it's very late, but could you come over?
Helen, what's the matter?
Oh, Mildred, I'm so frightened. I'm alone here.
Where's Jack?
Well, he's out of town, and it's Marie's night off. Mildred, I don't know what to do.
What's wrong? You sound
Mildred, will you come over right away, please? You can spend the night. Oh.
Helen, what happened? What's wrong with you?
Oh, Jack.
Helen, you all right? Look, I'll be right over.
No, Mildred, it's all right now. Jack's come home.
What was the matter?
I'll speak to you tomorrow.
All right. Good night.
Oh, Jack. Oh.
What's the matter? What happened, darling? Helen. Helen, for pity's sake, what is it? Pull yourself together, darling. Here, come on over here.
Oh.
There, that's better. Now, what is it, darling?
Jack, I'm so glad you're home. It's been awful. I didn't expect you, and when I heard the door...
Well, I finished my business in New York sooner than I'd planned. I would have wired, but I thought I'd surprise you. I met Fred Hamilton on the train coming home. Remember the buyer from St. Louis? He stopped off for a drink downtown.
But Jack, you should have called me.
As a matter of fact, I did try to phone you around 11. I tried to get you just as we were leaving the 78 Club.
The 78 Club? You were there? You...
Well, what is it, darling?
Well, nothing. I'm all right now.
Well, something is wrong, Helen. What is it?
I guess I was just frightened being alone.
Well, you've been alone before many times.
Yes, but that call...
What call?
Well, the police. They called.
Oh?
There was a robbery in the neighborhood.
Oh, so that's it. That's why the door was double locked. Well, darling, there's nothing to worry about now. I'm here, right?
Yes, Jack. You're here.
There, that's better. Good night's sleep, and you'll be as good as new.
Yes, Jack.
Now, you lie there and relax, darling. I'll go to the kitchen and make you a cup of warm milk.
Thanks, Jack. Paul, it's Helen. Didn't you get my message? I called twice.
Yes, but I just got in. I thought you'd be asleep by now.
Paul, you must help me. Please, Paul, there isn't much time.
Helen, what's the trouble?
He's going to kill me.
What are you...
Jack's going to kill me, Paul. He came tonight.
Helen, what are you talking about?
Paul, you must believe me.
Now, listen, Helen. You've probably had a bad dream. Is Jack there?
Yes, please. You must believe me. I know what he's going to do.
Well, we'll straighten this thing out. Let me speak to Jack.
No, you mustn't. Please, listen to me. He's coming now. You'll never see me again, alive. Goodbye, Paul. Don't bother folding up the dresses, Marie. Just throw them in.
Mrs. Thornton, isn't this kind of sudden you're going away?
Don't ask questions, Marie. Hurry, please. Here, now help me close this suitcase. You finish packing the other suitcase. I'm going down to get the car out of the garage.
Morning, Helen.
Jack.
You look so surprised to see me.
Well, Marie said you'd gone. I didn't expect...
Well, I decided to come back. See, I caught you in time.
I was just going over to Mildred.
So early in the morning?
We have an appointment for golf.
Darling, in those clothes?
Well...
All right, darling, all right. Helen, I'll tell you why I came back this morning. Frankly, I'm worried about you. Something's on your mind. I know it. Won't you tell me what it is?
I'm all right.
Okay, Helen. Now listen to me. I had some very important business to settle in the office with Paul this morning, but you come first.
You saw Paul this morning?
No, I changed my mind on the way down and came back. Helen, you need a rest. You and I are going away.
No, Jack,
yes?
no.
Now, there's no use arguing. I've already made a reservation for the weekend.
Where are you taking me, Jack?
Remember that cabin we stayed at 3 years ago?
Oh.
It'll be wonderful. Just the two of us, all alone. We'll drive out there tomorrow. Now, there's no need to fuss either. Just a few old duds and my rifle.
Your rifle?
Yes, darling, my gun. The hunting season is on. The shooting at Lone Acres should be very good this year. What's this all about?
Paul, I had to see you.
Yeah, but why here at Luigi's all the way across town?
It's safer here.
What's gotten into you?
Jack's going to kill me.
Helen.
He is, Paul.
Oh, don't be ridiculous, Helen. Why, that's what you told me over the phone last night.
He's changed his plan.
Oh, I see. And why, Mrs. Thornton, is your husband going to kill you?
Because he's jealous of you.
Jealous? Huh, Jack jealous of me?
He knows what we once meant to each other before I married him.
Well, of course he does. So what? Why, his winning you is a standard joke between Jack and me. Rivals in love, partners in business, and all that stuff. Come on, snap out of it. I think I'd better talk to Jack about you.
No, Paul, you mustn't. Promise me you won't.
Oh, all right, Helen, if you say so.
Jack's taking me to Lone Acres tomorrow for a rest, he said.
Good. It's just what you need, Helen.
I'll never come back alive.
No, Helen, get hold of yourself. Everything's all right.
Your imagination is overworked, that's all. You should go to Lone Acres for a rest. It'll do you a world of good.
All right, Paul, I'll go. But I'm so frightened. So frightened. Paul, we'll be alone and he'll have his gun.
You know, Helen, sometimes I think I love this gun more than I do you. There, it's okay now. Clean as a whistle and fit for the work at hand. Say, look, the fog's lifting. You can see clear across the valley. No, we'll get in some hunting today after all. Helen, what's the matter? You haven't said a word since breakfast.
I'm all right. I've been wanting to finish this story.
The Golden Goblet Murders. You know, detective stories hand me a laugh. Now, if I were planning a murder, I'd use a gun, like this Springfield. Just say, for instance, I wanted to kill... Well, say I wanted to kill...
Me?
All right. Say I wanted to kill you. Now, let's see. We have to have a motive, don't we? Well, I'd have it. Motive? Jealousy.
Jealousy?
Yes, I'm jealous of Paul Allen. That's it. I'm jealous of Paul.
I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, come on, darling. Be a sport. Our murder plot is just beginning to get interesting. Now, let's see. We need a locale. Well, Lone Acres, right here. What a perfect setting for a perfect murder. And now for the time.
Yes, Jack. When are you going to kill me?
Well, I shouldn't really tell you when I plan to kill you, but I'll give you a break. This afternoon. How's that? We'll be out in the woods hunting. No one will be too near. No one to see what happens. The hunting season, a gunshot, you're dead. A regrettable accident. And there's our perfect murder.
Thornton has discovered that someone wishes to murder her. A mental telepathist performing at a nightclub read the thought from among the guests. Later, Helen was shocked to learn that one of the guests present in the nightclub was her husband, Jack. She fears that he might want to kill her because of his jealousy of Paul, a former suitor. Her anxiety is heightened, and her husband suggests that they go away for a weekend to Lone Acres, an isolated hunting lodge. Once there, Jack tells her it's a perfect setting for a possible perfect crime. Her murder. A hunting accident in the woods.
Oh, Helen. Here, up this way. Follow this path around the bend here.
Jack?
Yeah?
Would you mind if I went back to the cabin?
Well, there's a clearing up here, darling. We'll stop for a rest. Helen?
Yes?
I'm going to circle this hill. You wait right there for me.
Jack, please don't leave me here alone.
A regrettable accident, Mr. Thornton.
But, Doctor, I don't understand how it happened.
No, Mr. Thornton, it's really nothing serious. Just a shoulder flesh wound. Your wife's perfectly all right.
Well, when may I see her?
Right now. We'll go in right now.
Thank you. She's asleep.
Go ahead. Wake her up. She'll feel better knowing you're here.
Helen, darling.
Huh?
It's me, Helen. Jack.
Mrs. Thornton, it's your husband.
Doctor, get him out of here. He's going to kill me.
What?
Please, Doctor, you must save me.
Mr. Thornton, perhaps you'd better leave the room for a while.
All right, Doctor. I'll wait outside.
Doctor, please don't let him in here again. You must believe me. He's planning to kill me.
Mrs. Thornton, what happened was an accident.
Well, that's what he wants you to think. He planned it that way, but It wasn't an accident.
Now, Mrs. Thornton, it's perfectly natural in a case like this that you should imagine strange things.
Doctor, you think I'm crazy, don't you? I'm not. I know what I'm saying. You yourself took the bullet out of my shoulder. Doesn't that prove to you that my husband shot me?
On the contrary, Mrs. Thornton. At the scene of the accident, they found your husband with a .32 caliber rifle in his hands. The bullet I removed from your shoulder was a .45 caliber pistol cartridge.
Marie? Marie?
Yes, Mrs. Thornton, I'll be right up. I was just cleaning up the cellar, ma'am.
Oh, Mrs. Thornton, you have the sling off. Yes, Marie. The doctor says the shoulder's okay now. Pretty soon I'll be playing golf again.
Oh, that's fine, ma'am. I'm so glad.
Thanks, Marie. Were there any calls for me while I was out?
Oh, Mr. Thornton called to tell you not to wait up for him. He'll be home very late. And, Mr. Allen called too, Mrs. Thornton.
Did he say what he wanted?
No, ma'am. Said he'd try to get you later on. Oh, and Mrs. Thornton, I was thinking... Do you suppose Mr. Thornton wants to keep this box of bullets downstairs on the open shelf? I was thinking it might be dangerous, ma'am.
Bullets?
Yes, ma'am. This box here.
Let me see that box, Marie. 45 caliber cartridges. 45 caliber cartridges.
At the scene of the accident, they found your husband with a .32 caliber rifle in his hands. The bullet I removed from your shoulder was a .45 caliber pistol cartridge.
Good evening. Have you a reservation, madame?
No, I've come to see the great Marlowe.
Yes, madame. Then perhaps a table on the side. This way, please.
No, I mean I've come to see him on a personal matter. He's expecting me.
Oh, I see, madame. Albert, show this lady to the great Marlowe's dressing room.
And when the doctor told me about the bullet he removed from my shoulder, I thought it was all a terrible mistake. I was even too ashamed to explain to Jack why I'd acted the way I did. But now, Mr. Marlowe, I'm sure that what you told me over the phone that night is true. Someone is really planning to kill me.
Are you
my
sure?
Husband.
Husband. Are you sure the doctor said it was a .45 caliber cartridge?
Yes, a .45 caliber cartridge. Just like these that Marie found in the basement.
Does your husband have a pistol?
I think so. He keeps his guns locked in a case. He has the only key. Mr. Marlowe, he tried once and failed. He'll try again. You must help me.
All right, Mrs. Thornton, I'll do all I can. Where is your husband now?
Well, he's out on business. He'll be home late.
Then we'll have to work fast. Now, let me see. I go on again at 9 o'clock. I want you to go home immediately and find some way of opening the case in which your husband keeps his guns. I'll call you just as soon as my act is over. Mrs. Thornton, if you can find a .45 caliber pistol in that case, I think we can put an end to this affair.
Hello?
This is Marlowe.
I opened the case. There was no pistol.
Mrs. Thornton,
I searched all through the house, and I can't find it anywhere. He must have it with him.
Mrs. Thornton.
What shall I do? I can't stay here tonight. He'll kill me.
Mrs. Thornton, listen to me, please. You must come down here immediately. A few minutes ago, during my act, I received the murder thought again. Mr. Thornton is in this nightclub.
My husband is there now?
Yes, meet me in my dressing room. Be sure to come in through the back entrance, and hurry.
All right, Mr. Marlowe.
And where am I supposed to be right now?
Jack. Oh, but, Jack, he said you were standing there all the time. You heard everything.
Enough.
Well, it's not you. Well, then who is it at the 78 Club?
Me? 78 Club? Helen, are you going to tell me what this is all about?
Not you. Oh, yes, darling. I'm going to tell you everything. I should have told you before. I wanted to, only... Oh, Jack, I need you so much.
look here, Marlowe. I want to get to the bottom of this.
But Mrs. Thornton and I have told you everything.
Yes, well then explain to me why at the very moment I was standing in my own home listening to my wife talk to you on the phone, you were telling Mrs. Thornton that I was sitting in this nightclub planning to kill her. Oh, don't you see, Helen, this man's a cheap trickster. Why, he's never even seen me before. Why didn't you come to me when this all started, darling?
Jack, I was afraid.
Because she thought you were the one, and so did I. That's why I assumed it was you sitting out there. Of course, I never saw you before you entered my dressing room a few minutes ago. You see, Mr. Thornton, I have a telepathic mind, not a magic eye. I know what your wife and I have told you is hard to believe.
I don't know what your game is, Marlowe. But I'll find out soon enough. Come on, Helen, we're going to police headquarters.
That won't be necessary, Mr. Thornton. The police know about this. I told them.
What?
The police are here now in this nightclub. Mr. Thornton, whether you believe it or not, your wife's life is in jeopardy. Someone in this club now is planning to kill her. Perhaps this will convince you. You own a .45 caliber pistol with a serial number 75682.
What? Yes, that's right. That's the pistol I reported as missing.
Yes, I know. The police told me tonight.
Jack, why didn't you tell me?
Well, darling, you've been so upset lately, I didn't want to cause you any more anxiety.
That pistol is, in all likelihood, the same weapon that was used up at Lone Acres in an attempt on your wife's life. Mr. Thornton, that pistol was brought to this club tonight by the person who is planning to kill your wife. The police found it concealed in an overcoat in the hat check room. Whoever claims that coat is Mrs. Thornton's intended murderer.
Oh, why should anyone want to kill her?
Who can it be?
We'll soon find out. Mr. Thornton, do you recall the night you were in this club? The night I first received the murder thought?
Yes.
That night, did you see anybody here, or were you with anyone who knows both you and Mrs. Thornton very well?
Well, let me see. Well, yes. No, it couldn't be.
Pardon me, please.
Here we got him, Mr. Marlowe. Here he is.
Will you bring him in, Inspector?
All right, you this way. Come on.
Mrs. Thornton, your intended murderer.
Paul.
That's right. He was with me here the night you received the murder thought.
It was Paul all the time.
Yeah. And it almost worked. Yes. And all the clues pointed to you, Mr. Thornton.
But why? We were so friendly, the three of us.
Friendly? More than that, Mrs. Thornton. Paul Allen was hopelessly in love with you.
Mr. Marlowe, you're on.
All right, I'm coming.
Let's go, Allen. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the 78 Club presents the great Marlowe, the mental marvel. He'll read your mind and tell your every thought. But let me warn you, if you have a secret you don't want him to know, just don't think about it.
From shadows and stillness, mystery weaves a spell of strangest fascination, charging the mind with doubt and fear. For mystery is a strange companion, a living memory. In the haunting hour.